Chapter 632. The little demon girl giggled as she saw a streak of light approaching from afar. I've just entered the demon realm and I'm already in trouble. Brother Fan, you must protect me well. Here, take this pill. It can conceal your appearance, aura, and bone age. Within a month, no one will know that you are Ning Fan. It was a pill that the little demoness had prepared a long time ago. Now that Ning Fan had inherited the throne of the Rain Sovereign, there were naturally a lot of people who knew about his appearance. If the experts of the demon realm knew that the Rain Sovereign had sneaked into the Rain world, there would most likely be trouble. Since they had important matters to attend to on this trip, even the little demoness would not want to cause any trouble. This is a peak 7th revolution pill, formless pill. Ning Fan looked at the little demoness and sighed at his own inferiority. The godly void pavilion truly had an extraordinary background. The little demoness could casually take out a peak 7th revolution Dan and give it to someone. Even without this pill, Ning Fan was also prepared to change his appearance and conceal his identity after entering the demon world. When he entered the tree world, he did not have to hide his identity because his identity was ordinary and no one in the tree world knew him. The current situation was different from the past. The identity of the Rain Sovereign was extremely sensitive. If others find out that the Rain Sovereign, Ning Fan, has sneaked into the demon world, there was no guarantee that the old monsters of the demon world would not punish him. The demon realm was one of the 3 upper realms among the 9 realms. Within each realm, there were as many as hundreds of void fragmentation realm cultivators. Moreover, there were also rogue demon experts. Even if Ning Fan had the rogue devil with him, he would not dare to be overly ostentatious like he did in the tree world. After all, he could only use the rogue devil once. He didn't say much. He swallowed the appearance change pill, and his appearance, bone age, and aura immediately changed. He still had the appearance of a young man. However, his appearance was already extremely different from his original appearance. The purple seal had also been concealed by the power of his pill. His bone age temporarily changed to 20,000 years. His aura had also changed beyond recognition. Alright, now no one will be able to recognize you as Little Fan Fan. I have also prepared several identities for you to enter the demon realm. You can choose them later. As for now, let's deal with these nascent soul and divine transformation realm seniors first. I'm a Gene Dan stage cultivator now, so I'm afraid of these menacing senior experts. The little demoness pretended to be afraid like a little beast. She grabbed Ning Fan's sleeve and hid behind him. More than 10 rays of light instantly arrived from afar, surrounding Ning Fan and the little demoness from 4 directions. This group of cultivators were all Yao cultivators, and they were all dressed in the same uniform with the same clan emblem embroidered on their clothes. Why are you blocking our way? Ning Fan asked indifferently. My Dark Crane clan has locked down the entire White Father demonic sea and is currently capturing all the White Father clansmen here. The 2 of you appearing in the White Feather Demon Sea is suspicious. You're most likely survivors of the White Feather clan. A late-stage nascent soul realm old man stepped forward and took out a jade slip from his storage pouch. The jade slip recorded the appearances of 23 important members of the Light Wing clan. The elderly man carefully scrutinized Ning Fan and the little demoness appearance and compared them with the people in the jade slip. When he realized that Ning Fan and the little demoness were not among them, he could not help but reveal a disappointed look. Then, he reported to the mid-divine transformation realm burly man behind him. Reporting to Elder Luo, these 2 people are not on the jade slip. The man was surnamed Luo, and he was an elder of the Dark Crane clan. He was one of the 3 people in charge of annihilating the Light Wing clan this time. Is that so? Since that's the case, kill the man and keep the woman. The burly man surnamed Luo glanced at Ning Fan and the little demoness and waved his hand indifferently. He could tell that the little demoness was just a Gold Core Realm junior with just a glance. Her cultivation base was not worth mentioning. However, her appearance was quite good. She was a little skinny and could be kept as a human cauldron. Even though he could not see through Ning Fan's cultivation base, he did not think that Ning Fan would be very strong either. He just thought that Ning Fan had some kind of secret treasure that could conceal his cultivation base. He had already determined that the two of them who appeared in the White Father Demon's Sea were members of the Lightwing clan. There was only one Divine Transformation Realm cultivator in the entire Lightwing clan, and he had already died in the siege of the cultivators of the Dark Crane clan. If Ning Fan is a member of the Lightwing clan, he would certainly not be a powerful figure. Of course, he would not be worthy of the attention of a dignified elder like him. As soon as the burly man surnamed Luo gave the order, the experts of the Dark Crane clan immediately revealed killing intent in their eyes. 3 nascent soul realm cultivators immediately took out their magic treasures and attacked Ning Fan. The remaining nascent soul realm experts were in charge of guarding against Ning Fan. They were worried that Ning Fan might have something hidden up his sleeves and launch a counterattack. They were rather cautious. Even though there were no Divine Transformation Realm cultivators among the survivors of the Lightwing clan, there were still quite a number of nascent soul realm experts. The burly man surnamed Luo was confident in his high cultivation base and was not afraid of Ning Fan. Thus, they did not dare to be careless. Husband, save me. The little demoness looked at the 3 powerful magic treasures and pretended to be afraid. She held Ning Fan's arm tightly and rubbed her not-so-plump chest against Ning Fan's arm. Ning Fan felt a little speechless towards the little demoness. He did not know that he would need to disguise himself as the Tao companion of the little demoness in this trip to the demon world. As for these cultivators of the Dark Crane clan, Ning Fan already had the intention to kill them. Initially, he did not want to cause any trouble in the demon world. However, the other party came knocking on his door without saying anything and even used their killing moves. Thus, he naturally would not show any mercy. He raised his hand slightly and pointed a finger at them. Suddenly, 3 massive silver vortexes appeared in the sky. As soon as the silver vortexes appeared, they immediately engulfed the 3 nascent soul realm magic treasures and crushed them into pieces. All the Dark Crane clan cultivators present were taken aback. Even the burly man surnamed Luo opened his eyes slightly with a hint of surprise and sneered. I thought this kid was just a small fish. I didn't expect him to be a big fish. Kill him and bring his head back to the clan for the reward. Big fish? Ha, where's the big fish? The 2 of us would like to have a share of the credit. In the distance, another large group of cultivators rushed over and arrived in an instant. This time, there were dozens of nascent soul cultivators. The ones leading these cultivators were 2 late soul formation cultivators. One was wearing a green robe and the other was wearing a red robe. Behind these experts were hundreds of winged demon cultivators who were tied up by demon ropes. All of them were female and most of them were at the harmonious spirit or gold core realm. There was only one female nascent soul cultivator. Those women were all female cultivators that the Dark Crane clan cultivators had captured from the Light Feather clan. The men had long since been killed. Seeing that the other 2 principal elders wanted to share the credit, Master Luo was displeased, but he didn't dare to show it. His cultivation was not as good as the other 2 elders, so he had no choice but to tolerate it. Hee, this big fish belongs to this old man. All of you, retreat. The green-robed old man was determined to get the credit. His body flashed and he rushed towards Ning Fan. His body was surrounded by the terrifying aura force of a late soul formation realm cultivator. His 10 fingers formed a hand seal and the shadow of a huge black crane appeared behind him. Demonic art, crane cry. As the old man's fingers moved like shadows, the black crane suddenly cried. Layers of silver sound waves immediately spread towards Ning Fan and the little demoness. There were 5 layers of sound waves and each layer was stronger than the previous one. When the Dark Crane nascent soul cultivators saw the green-robed old man using this technique, they were immediately shocked. This is too scary. Elder Yuan has actually cultivated the crane cry technique of our Dark Crane clan to the level of 5 waves. That white feather cultivator is probably going to die without a burial place. He's just a mere white feather cultivator. How dare he hide his treasures and not offer all of them to our Dark Crane clan? He's really courting death. Husband, I'm scared. The little demoness hugged Ning Fan's arm tightly. Her eyes were filled with anticipation. Ning Fan did not say much. He pointed his left index finger at the sky again. Hundreds of huge silver vortexes suddenly appeared in the sky. At the moment when the vortexes appeared, the 5 layers of sound waves were all shattered. The shadow of the black crane was even shattered. The green-robed old man who used this technique was directly killed by the silver light that spread in all directions. Before he died, his eyes were filled with indescribable fear. As soon as the dark crane nascent soul cultivators were sucked into the vortexes, they were immediately minced into countless pieces of flesh. The spatial vortex technique could not only be used for sealing but also for killing. In just an instant, all 65 nascent soul realm experts sent by the Dark Crane clan were killed. At this moment, the burly man surnamed Luo's face turned pale with fright. No matter how foolish he was, he knew that he had offended someone he could not afford to offend this time. At this moment, Ning Fan's chi was still concealed. However, the heavy and powerful aura force that the clan leader of the Dark Crane clan carried was incomparable too. He killed 65 nascent soul realm cultivators and a late divine transformation realm cultivator with a single finger. Besides, the burly man surnamed Luo could clearly see that it was just a casual attack from Ning Fan. He did not use his full strength at all. The clan leader of the Dark Crane clan was a Void Pierce stage expert. In the Northern Demon Sea, he could be considered as an expert who had quite a reputation. However, in the eyes of the burly man surnamed Luo, Ning Fan's current aura force was far superior to that of the clan leader of the Dark Crane clan. He inwardly guessed that Ning Fan might be an old monster of the Absolute Void stage. I'm finished. I'm finished. I can't afford to offend an old monster of the Absolute Void stage. I must run. The burly man surnamed Luo spat out a few mouthfuls of blood essence without hesitation. Then, he turned around and fled. The other red-robed old man's face was also as pale as a sheet of paper at this moment. His heart was filled with regret. Why did I come here to snatch the credit? Not only did I not get the credit, I almost lost my life here. How could he still care about the hundreds of female cultivators of the Light Feather clan that he captured? He directly spat out blood essence continuously and fled for his life just like the burly man surnamed Luo. The female cultivators of the Light Feather clan who were captured were originally filled with despair. They knew that once they are brought back to the Dark Crane clan, they would certainly become their cauldrons. Unexpectedly, Ning Fan appeared out of nowhere and completely defeated the cultivators of the Dark Crane clan with just a raise of his hand. His actions made those female cultivators look at him with their beautiful eyes. They knew that Ning Fan must be a senior expert whose cultivation base was unimaginably high. Ning Fan killing the group of Dark Crane clan cultivators was equivalent to saving them in another way. Of course, they were extremely grateful to him. Only the nascent soul realm female cultivator was looking at Ning Fan with disbelief and a hint of surprise. She was wearing a white feather robe and there were a few white feathers on her head. Her appearance was rather beautiful. She was born with good senses. She could sense a trace of the chi of a winged demon from Ning Fan's ability. She had seen the portraits of the ancestors of the past generations in the forbidden area of the clan. Ning Fan's appearance after he disguised himself was actually very similar to one of the portraits. That ancestor had left the Light Feather clan thousands of years ago. He claimed that he was going to travel the world. In reality, he was expelled from the clan and there was no news of him since then. That ancestor's famous ability was a ray of fatal silver light. That ancestor's name was Bai Mu. However, that ancestor did not have a good reputation. He was proficient in dual cultivation techniques and had plucked the females of the clan many times. He was a lecherous person. This senior did not hesitate to offend the Dark Crane clan to save us. Could it be that he is ancestor Bai Mu? Now that he has returned, will he protect our Light Feather clan? Will he take back the star stone that our Light Feather clan has been guarding for generations? The eyes of the lady in the white feather robe were filled with hope. The burly man surnamed Luo and the red-robed elderly man ran in different directions. How could they escape from Ning Fan's grasp? Ning Fan's face was expressionless. He withdrew his arm from the little demoness' bosom and disappeared in a flash. At the next moment, two miserable shrieks suddenly resounded from afar. A moment later, Ning Fan returned to the ancient sword with a demon's soul in each of his hands. Soul search. Without any hesitation, he directly searched their souls and swallowed them in one gulp. From the memories of the burly man surnamed Luo and the red-robed elderly man, Ning Fan learned that they belonged to the Dark Crane clan in the northern demon sea of the demon world. He also found out the reason why the Dark Crane clan attacked the Light Feather clan. The leader of the Dark Crane clan coveted the precious treasure of the Light Feather clan and demanded it forcefully. That supreme treasure was called the Star Stone. It was a precious treasure passed down from generation to generation in the Light Feather clan. It contained endless star power. There were 10 star stones in total. The White Feather clan was afraid of the Black Crane clan's strength, so they offered 9 star stones and secretly kept one for themselves. This matter was later exposed, and the leader of the Black Crane clan was furious. He sent people to massacre the Light Feather clan and snatch the star stones. Ning Fan flicked his sleeve and waved it. A stone that was as bright as a star appeared in his hand. When he sensed the vast star power within it, his brows twitched slightly. Interesting. I've just entered the demon realm and I've already picked up a treasure. The star power contained in this piece of star stone was enough for Ning Fan to condense 10 natal stars. Oh. It's actually a star stone. Hubby's luck is really good. You've just entered the demon world and you've already obtained a treasure. The little demoness was very immersed in her role. She was still acting as Ning Fan's Dao companion. Her gaze swept across the hundreds of white feather female cultivators in the distance. Then, she gave Ning Fan a meaningful smile. Congratulations, my husband. You even managed to get several hundred delicate human cauldrons in one go. You really have great luck with women. Ancient Chaos's successor had to cultivate the yin-yang transformation and was proficient in the plucking technique. She naturally knew this. The cultivation of these cauldrons is too low. It's useless to keep them. Ning Fan raised his hand and pointed at the sky. The demon chains that were binding the hundreds of female cultivators turned into ashes in an instant. All of you can leave now. Ning Fan said coldly to the female cultivators of the White Feather clan. He did not have the intention to help the White Feather clan. The reason why he killed the cultivators of the Black Crane clan was just because they provoked him. As soon as he finished speaking, Ning Fan stepped on the ancient sword and was about to leave. He had obtained part of the map of the northern demon world from the cultivators of the Black Crane clan. The place he entered through the realm gate belonged to the northern demon sea. To be precise, it was the White Feather Sea area. The ancestors of the White Feather clan were once powerful and prosperous. The entire sea area was named after the White Feather clan. However, the White Feather clan had already declined a long time ago. It had become a sullen force that was bullied and humiliated by countless demon clans. There were a total of 146 demon seas in the northern demon sea. The place that the little demoness wanted Ning Fan to accompany her to was the Origin Sky Demon Sea. In order to travel from the White Feather Demon Sea to the Origin Sky Demon Sea, Ning Fan would need to cross more than 60 demon seas. Each of the demon seas was as huge as a high-grade cultivation country. With Ning Fan's speed on the ancient golden sword, it would take him at least a month to reach the Origin Sky Demon Sea. The demon world was much bigger than the rain world. Just the northern demon sea alone was 3 times the size of the rain world. Since the journey was still far away, Ning Fan naturally would not stay here for too long. As soon as she saw Ning Fan wanting to leave, the female cultivator in the feather robes panicked. She suddenly knelt down in the sky and begged. Old ancestor Bai Mu, please don't abandon us. Don't abandon the White Feather clan. Old ancestor Bai Mu. Ning Fan was stunned. He stopped and did not know why the lady called him that. He secretly used the mind-reading technique and saw through the thoughts of the lady. Only then did he understand what was going on. It turned out that this lady mistook him for the old ancestor of the White Feather clan, Bai Mu, based on his current appearance, abilities, and the chi of a winged demon. Ning Fan narrowed his eyes slightly. He would need an identity to enter the demon world. Along the way, the little demoness had already told him the purpose of this trip. If he wants to achieve that goal, the identity of Bai Mu would be quite useful. I'm not Bai Mu. However, from now on, I can be Bai Mu. Ning Fan said something that the lady could not understand. Then, he reached out his hand and lifted her up from the ground. The woman was stunned at first. She did not understand what he meant. On second thought, Bai Mu was chased out of the clan back then. When he said, "I'm not Bai Mu," it was probably because he was still dissatisfied with Bai Yu. However, Senior Whitewood was still a member of the Lightwing clan, and he couldn't bear to see his clan being bullied and humiliated, so he returned and forcefully intervened. "Yes, that must be it. Patriarch Bai Mu, please annihilate the Dark Crane clan and take back the Star Stones to avenge the dead Lightwing clan members." The woman in the feathered robe's eyes reddened instantly. Almost all of the Lightwing clan's 10,000 members had perished in this battle, and only a few hundred of them were left. Fortunately, old ancestor Bai Mu had returned, and the White Feather clan would not perish. Let's talk about revenge later. I still have some matters to attend to, so I need to head to the Origin Sky Demon Sea. You guys can come along. With a flick of his sleeve, hundreds of delicate female cultivators with white feathers were immediately carried up the ancient golden sword by the breeze. The ancient sword was huge enough for 1,000 people to stand on. Seeing that Ning Fan had something important to attend to and did not intend to stand up for the Lightwing clan immediately, the woman in the feathered robe was slightly disappointed. However, she naturally did not dare to complain. From her point of view, old ancestor Bai Mu was already very grateful that he was willing to let go of their past grudges and save them. Currently, the dragon fishing meet was being held in the Origin Palace of the Origin Sky Demon Sea. Perhaps, old ancestor Bai Mu was eager to participate in this event. With that in mind, the woman in the feathered robe no longer said anything. She just stood there respectfully with a submissive expression on her face. The other female cultivators of the White Feather clan were shocked. Their mouths were wide open and they were so shocked that they could not close them. This white-robed senior is old ancestor Bai Mu, who was expelled from the clan in the past. Silver Sparrow, Bai Mu. Ah! Rumor has it that old ancestor Bai Mu is lustful. He would even lay his hands on the members of his clan. Would he? Would he do something to us? Shut up. Old ancestor Bai Mu saved us and gave us a new lease of life. It's perfectly reasonable for him to take us as his cauldrons. Don't talk nonsense. Old ancestor Bai Mu is very powerful. We can't criticize him. Silver Sparrow, Bai Mu. The name, Silver Spear, was certainly not a good title. It was more like a spear than a silver spear. Of course, Ning Fan did not know that the fake identity he had chosen had an extremely bad reputation. He was despised by most of the senior female cultivators in the demon world. He also did not know that the clan leader of the Black Crane clan was currently in a thunderous rage. Half a day later, in the Black Crane clan of the White Feather Demon Sea on the Black Crane continent. In a black palace, a muscular middle-aged man looked at the 68 broken life plates and flew into a rage. 3 Divine Transformation Realm Elders and 65 Nascent Soul Realm Cultivators were killed just to kill a small member of the White Feather clan. Who can tell me what exactly is going on? The middle-aged man was enraged. Clan leader, I received news that a white-robed old monster called himself Bai Mu has already passed through the sea-sealing formation of the White Feather Demon Sea. He is riding on an ancient golden sword and there are hundreds of female cultivators of the White Feather clan on the sword. In my opinion, this Bai Mu is most likely related to the death of the 3 elders. What? What did you say? Say it again. You said that person called himself Bai Mu. The middle-aged man's expression became even more furious. In the end, he laughed out of anger. Bai Mu. Bai Mu. Bai Mu. I didn't expect you to still be alive after 4,000 years. In the past, when you were chased out of the White Feather clan, I personally dealt a heavy blow to you. Although a trace of your demon soul managed to escape, it should have been erased by me using a secret technique. It seems like I didn't manage to kill you back then. Since you're back now, why can't I kill you again? It seemed like this middle-aged man had an irreconcilable grudge against Bai Mu. It was unknown if Bai Mu had harmed his wife and daughter before. Anyway, Ning Fan was already implicated. After that Bai Mu left the sea-sealing grand formation of the White Feather Demon Sea. Where did he go? The middle-aged man asked again. He went to the Red Fang Demon Sea. Then, he went through the Flying Flame Demon Sea and the Poisonous Dragon Demon Sea. I know. He's going to the Origin Sky Demon Sea to participate in the Dragon Fishing Convention. The middle-aged man sneered. He began to think about how many helpers he should get this time to go to the Origin Sky Demon Sea to kill Ning Fan. Since it's the Dragon Fishing Convention, I can also participate in it. Chapter 633. After passing through several sea regions, Ning Fan kept the ancient golden sword and used his void teleportation technique. Then, he flew at full speed towards the Origin Sky Demon Sea. After breaking through to the void fragmentation realm, Ning Fan's movement speed should have improved the most. His magic power had already reached 78,000 yuan hui. When he flew at full speed, his speed was not any slower than a cultivator at the second heavenly layer of the void fragmentation realm. The void wind carried the little demoness and hundreds of white feather female cultivators along the way. Naturally, Ning Fan's was the only one who had a hard time. If he were to use the ancient sword to escape, he would be able to study the spatial vortex technique on the sword. However, when using teleportation techniques to escape, one could not be distracted. Ning Fan had no choice but to use teleportation in order to reach the primordial sky demon sea as soon as possible. The appearance-changing pill he had consumed could only last for a month. The ancient sword was too slow, and it would take a month to reach the Origin Sky Demonic Sea. At that time, once the effects of the drug wore off, it would be easy to expose his identity. Ning Fan would need at most half a month to arrive at the Origin Sky Demon Sea. However, because of this, his flying speed was astonishing and it inevitably attracted the attention of the Void Fragmentation Realm cultivators along the way. Naturally, the low-grade cultivators would not be able to detect Ning Fan's movement light which he had deliberately concealed. This Void Fragmentation Realm fellow Daoist's speed is really impressive. Who is this person? He seems a little unfamiliar. Most of the Void Fragmentation Realm cultivators that they met along the way had the same thought. The demon world was different from the rain world. There were a lot of Void Fragmentation Realm cultivators there. There were at least several hundred of them. It was very normal for Void Fragmentation Realm cultivators to not know each other. His goal in entering the demon world this time was the Tian Yuan continent where the origin palace of the primordial sky demon sea was located. There were 10 sovereigns in the demon world. In the past, Crown Prince Chu Shun, whom Ning Fan met in the 9 divisions of the Lu clan, belonged to the Chu Hall. Demon Sovereign Chu Dian was known as Sovereign Chu. His cultivation base was at the 6th heavenly layer of the Void Fragmentation Realm. He was not the strongest among the 10 sovereigns. The strongest demon emperor in the demon realm was the ape emperor of the stone ape race. This demon king had cultivated his body to the 7th sky of Nirvana realm. He had once defeated a demon king who had broken the 7th sky of demon realm with one punch. The current primitive sovereign of the origin palace was only at the 5th heavenly layer of the void fragmentation realm. However, no one in the entire demon realm dared to look down on Yuan Palace because the previous Yuan Emperor was still alive. The old Yuan Emperor was a loose demon, one of the 3 great loose demons guarding the demon realm. With the old Yuan Emperor around, few people dared to provoke the Yuan Palace. The reason why Ning Fan was so cautious in the demon world was because the overall strength of the demon world was much stronger than the rain world. If he caused a huge disaster, he might not be able to escape from the demon realm unscathed even with the scattered devil. The purpose of entering the monster realm was to participate in the dragon fishing convention that was held once every 1,000 years by the Yuan Palace. The little demoness only said that it was very important to participate in this meeting as it was related to the success or failure of obtaining the map. However, she didn't tell Ning fans the specifics. Hee. When we reach the Tian Yuan continent and meet He Daozi, my husband, you will naturally know everything. The little demoness purposely kept him in suspense. She called him husband again and again in a very smooth manner. Ning Fan secretly used the mind-reading technique to pry into the thoughts of the little demoness, but all he could see was nothingness. The void scripture that the little demon girl cultivated was extremely powerful. It was a cultivation technique that was not weaker than the yin-yang transformation. This lady hid her heart in the void. Ning Fan could not find out any of her secrets at all. Along the way, the little demoness cultivation base fell lower and lower. Eventually, it fell to the early harmonious spirit realm. She begged Ning Fan to protect her with a pitiful look. However, Ning Fan knew that she was just joking. She had a way to protect herself. The female cultivators of the Light Feather clan, on the other hand, were very quiet. There were a total of 532 of them. However, none of them dared to act rashly in front of Ning Fan. The nascent soul realm female cultivator in feather robes was called Huayu. Her cultivation base was at the peak of the early nascent soul realm and she was very close to breaking through to the mid-nascent soul realm. Along the way, Ning Fan would occasionally give her a few pointers. He also played the role of Bai Mu very well. She was not far away from the mid-nascent soul realm. Even though she was still respectful towards Ning Fan, she was no longer as afraid of him as she was in the beginning. Half a month later, Ning Fan arrived at the Origin Sky Demon Sea. The Golden Sea was boundless. In the sky above the sea, there was a golden continent that also had no end. When they arrived, Ning Fan could not help but change into the ancient golden sword to avoid attracting too much attention. As the dragon fishing convention approached, beams of light could be seen flying into the Tianyuan continent. When Ning Fan stepped on the ancient golden sword and brought a group of several hundred ladies to the coast of the Tianyuan continent, a few nascent soul realm demon envoys of the Origin Palace immediately came to welcome them. "Senior, may I ask if you're here for the dragon fishing convention?" the nascent soul realm demon envoys asked respectfully. Even though they did not know Ning Fan's exact cultivation base, judging from the traveling light of the ancient sword, Ning Fan was at least a void refinement realm old monster. Thus, they naturally did not dare to be careless. "That's right. I'm here for the dragon fishing convention," Ning Fan said with a smile. Seeing Ning Fan's friendly attitude, the few demon envoys of the Palace of Origin could not help but feel flattered. Although the Palace of Origin was strong, they were only the demon messengers of the Palace of Origin and their positions were low. He naturally felt very honored to be treated politely by a void refinement realm old monster. The leader looked at the harmonious spirit demoness next to Ning Fan's, then looked at the 500+ beauties on the ancient sword and asked in surprise. "Senior, these people are, what do you think?" Ning Fan asked with a smile. "Please forgive me, Senior." This junior made a slip of the tongue. The demon envoy secretly scolded himself for speaking too fast. "I really asked a stupid question. Since these hundreds of women are following this senior, they are most likely his wives, concubines, and human cauldrons. It was really normal for a void refinement realm old monster to have hundreds of human cauldrons and concubines. There was nothing to ask about it." The demon envoy calmed down a little and asked respectfully again. "May I know senior's name and which demon clan do you come from?" "White Feather Clan, Bai Mu." "What? There's actually someone like senior in the White Feather Clan?" The demon envoy was greatly surprised. He had heard of the White Feather Clan in the White Feather Sea region. It was said that this clan had already declined a long time ago. The entire clan only had an early divine transformation realm expert. He did not expect that such a declining demon clan would actually have a void refinement realm expert. He really cannot be underestimated. Is there a problem? "No, there isn't any problem. This is Senior's token to travel to the Heaven Origin realm. Please keep it well. This jade slip contains some information about the dragon fishing convention. I hope it will be useful to Senior. The demon envoy took out a blue jade token and a jade slip and passed them to Ning Fan. The color of the blue jade was gentle. It was somewhat similar to the blue bridge jade that Ning Fan was wearing. These demon envoys were responsible for receiving cultivators above the deity transformation realm at the Tianyuan coast. If he met a deity transformation stage cultivator, he would be given an azure jade badge. If he is a void refinement realm expert, he will be given a blue-colored jade badge. If he is a void fragmentation realm expert, he will be given a purple jade token. Those with different colored tokens would enjoy different treatments. There were many areas in the Tianyuan continent where cultivators below the soul formation stage were not allowed to enter. There were also some places where even soul formation cultivators were not allowed to enter. For example, Tianyuan City, where the dragon fishing convention was being held, could only be entered by those with blue tokens or above. Normal soul formation cultivators could only watch the dragon fishing feast from the high platform outside of the Heaven Origin City. Of course, those who were traveling with Void Refinement Realm old monsters would naturally be able to enter Tianyuan City. As for the Jade Slip, it contained a lot of information about the dragon fishing convention. Ning Fan tied the blue jade token to his waist and scanned the jade slip with his spirit sense. After a long while, he kept the jade slip and nodded at the few demon envoys. Then, he stepped on the ancient golden sword and flew towards the central region of the Tianyuan continent. Farewell, Senior. We'll help Senior to sit firmly on the fishing platform in this convention and fill the basin with dragon balls. The few demon envoys said respectfully. Dragon balls, huh? Is this why you invited me to the dragon fishing convention? Ning Fan shifted his gaze to the little demoness behind him. My husband is really smart. I can't hide anything from you. However, why don't you guess what grade of dragon ball I'm going to ask you to fish for? The little demoness smiled sweetly. Those who did not know her would think that she was an obedient girl. In Tianyuan City, there was a massive dragon fishing pond. The dragon souls of demonic dragons were kept in the pond. The cultivators of the Origin Palace would often use secret techniques to collect the souls of demonic beasts of the dragon clan and place them in the pond. Every 1,000 years, the Origin Palace would hold a dragon fishing convention and invite cultivators to participate in it to fight for the quota to fish for dragon souls. Each time, only 500 people would participate in the dragon fishing convention and they would need to compete for the quota to fish for dragon souls. As for the dragon souls, they were divided into 9 grades. The first grade dragon soul was the best while the 9th grade was the worst. The dragon souls that were fished up belonged to the individual who fished them. Consuming them could increase one's cultivation base by a lot. To Void Refinement Realm cultivators, a 9th grade dragon soul was enough to increase their magic power by 2,000 units. An 8th grade dragon soul could increase their magic power by 3,000 units. A 1st grade dragon soul could increase their magic power by 10,000 units. The body of a 1st grade dragon soul would have a certain chance to form a dragon ball. The dragon ball was further divided into 9 grades. A 9th grade dragon ball contained 1,000 units of magic power. An 8th grade dragon ball contained 2,000 units of magic power. As for a 1st grade dragon ball, it contained 10,000 units of magic power. It was extremely rare. Those who could fish up a 1st grade dragon soul were mostly people with incredible luck. Those who fished up a 1st grade dragon soul with a dragon ball in their body would naturally have heaven-defying luck. Those who could fish up a 1st grade dragon ball were rare. Moreover, there were 2 types of dragon balls that were even rarer than the 1st grade dragon balls. Yin Pearl and Yang Pearl. A Yin Pearl and Yang Pearl contained 50,000 units of magic power and the power of Yin and Yang. After consuming it, one's cultivation base would skyrocket. As for treasure refinement, it had many magical effects. Don't tell me you want me to fish up the Yin Yang Dragon Ball. Ning Fan asked. My husband is really smart, the little demoness gave Ning Fan a flying kiss. Those who didn't know her would definitely think that she was Ning Fan's Dao companion. Do you think my luck is enough to fish up such a rare treasure? Ning Fan was speechless. He secretly guessed that the reason why the little demoness went through so much trouble to invite him to the demon world was because of his luck. But on second thought, even though his luck was purple, it looked black on the surface. Even the mysterious old man who schemed against him couldn't see that his luck was purple, so how could the little demoness see through it? Hee, even though your luck is black, I have endless confidence in you. I just feel that you can fish up the yin-yang dragon ball. No matter what, you are the inheritor of ancient chaos, aren't you? You know, your meridians and veins have been cleansed by the yin-yang transformation. It is a great tonic for the dragon's soul that contains the yin-yang dragon ball. You are the bait that I have my eyes on, the little demoness smiled evilly. Ning Fan was speechless. It turned out that the little demoness wasn't interested in his luck, but his cultivation method. The little demoness wanted to use him as bait to fish up the yin-yang dragon ball. What's the purpose of taking the yin-yang dragon ball? Ning Fan snappily smiled. In the immortal Burning Valley, there is a dangerous trial that requires the power of yin and yang to pass through. If you can really fish up the yin-yang dragon ball, with the grade of your cultivation method and the power of the two dragon balls, you will be able to pass through that trial steadily. If you really can't fish up the yin-yang dragon ball, this trial will be very dangerous when you obtain the map in the future. Even I might die in that trial. The little demoness revealed a serious expression. Is this yin-yang dragon ball that important? Fine, I will let you use it as bait. My husband is the best. I know you are the best. The little demoness smiled so much that her long eyelashes curved. This conversation was naturally conducted through telepathy, so the white feather cultivator couldn't hear it. While they were talking, the ancient golden sword had already moved forward, passing through countless cultivation cities, and Tianyuan City could be seen from afar. Along the way, there were many demon messengers from Origin Palace who were checking on them. But when they saw the blue jade token on Ning Fan's waist, all of them showed a respectful expression and dared not neglect it. Tianyuan City was huge. It was a cultivation city, but it occupied the area of a mid-ranked cultivation country. The sky above the city was filled with cultivators' traveling lights, making it look very prosperous. On both sides of the long street, there were cultivators' shops that emitted the aura of treasures. As they neared Tianyuan City, the little demoness flicked her finger and sent a messenger flying sword into the city. Ning Fan landed on the golden sword light and waited outside the city because the little demoness said that she wanted him to meet a few people before entering the city. Although she was only a harmonious spirit cultivator, she could do things that harmonious spirit cultivators couldn't. Ning Fan was slightly surprised, but he felt that everything was reasonable. Not long after the little demoness sent out the messenger flying sword, 4 void fragmentation realm traveling lights shot out from Tianyuan City, shocking many cultivators. Look! That purplish-black void fragmentation realm traveling light must be the 6th prince of the rain world, Senior Yun Yumuyun. Some cultivators of Tianyuan City recognized one of the traveling lights. Could it be the famous Senior Xuanhua of the fire world who is in that fiery red traveling light? That sword traveling light must be the sword world's Senior Gong Yangzi, the sword demon. Who is the last traveling light? I don't know him. I heard that the senior's surname is He. He is at the 5th heavenly layer of the void fragmentation realm. He is very powerful, but I wonder which world he is from. The 4 traveling lights shot out of Tianyuan City and landed not far away from Ning Fan and the others. The 4 of them had been in Tianyuan City for a long time and they did not conceal their cultivation base. Many people knew who they were. When the 4 void fragmentation realm experts left the city together, it naturally attracted the attention of many cultivators. However, some of them realized that the 4 void fragmentation realm experts actually met Ning Fan when they left the city. All of them became very curious about Ning Fan's identity. Who is that white-robed young man? Since he is wearing a blue jade pendant, he should be a void refinement realm senior. What does he have that makes 4 void fragmentation realm old monsters come out of the city to meet him? The cultivators in Tianyuan City, however, did not know that the 4 void fragmentation realm experts were in a hurry to leave the city just to welcome the little demoness. Unfortunately, the little demoness was just at the harmonious spirit realm right now. Thus, she would not attract any attention at all. Ning Fan felt a slight headache. He glared at the little demoness fiercely. Originally, he wanted to enter the city in a low-profile manner. However, the little demoness' sound-transmitting flying sword made it known to everyone. I'm afraid that in less than a day, the name of Bai Mu of the Light Feather Clan will spread throughout Tianyuan City. Putting away his thoughts, Ning Fan glanced at the 4 people in front of him. When he saw Yun Yomu, the latter was slightly surprised. He felt that Ning Fan gave him a strange sense of familiarity. However, because Ning Fan had consumed the appearance-changing pill, Yun Yomu did not recognize him. Ning Fan's gaze swept across the elderly fire cultivator and the middle-aged sword cultivator. The elderly fire cultivator was as skinny as a match. However, his eyes were bright and full of vigor. His cultivation base was at the 4th heavenly layer of the void fragmentation realm. The middle-aged sword cultivator had an evil look on his face. His smile was a little sinister. His cultivation base was also at the 4th heavenly layer of the void fragmentation realm. The last person had a cultivation base at the 5th heavenly layer of the void fragmentation realm. He was a young man in green robes who looked as gentle as jade. He stood at the front while Yun Yomu and the other 2 void fragmentation realm experts stood behind him. He seemed to be the leader of this trip. I'm He Shishio. These 3 fellow Taoists are fellow Taoist Gong Yangzi of the Sword World, fellow Taoist Xian Hua of the Fire World and fellow Taoist Yun Yomu of the Rain World. These 3 people are the helpers that I've found. Did Miss Xiao find a few helpers? The young man in green robes introduced them to the little demoness. His eyes were filled with a hint of passion when he looked at her. It seemed like this person had some admiration for the little demoness. As for helpers, I already have 3 candidates in mind. I've also successfully convinced 2 of them. As for the last one, I haven't gotten the consent of her husband, so I don't dare to make a decision on my own. The little demoness said indifferently to the young man in green robes. Her tone was a little distant. The young man in green robes was already used to the little demoness' distant tone. He did not mind it and said with a smile. Hee hee. I didn't expect that Miss Xiao has yet to find 3 helpers. However, you don't have to worry. If you really can't find enough helpers, I still have a few candidates for you to consider. There's no need for that. I like to find my own people. You don't have to worry about me, He Daozi. Oh right. He Shishio, I want the 2 items in your hands. Oh. What do you want, Miss Xiao? Just tell me. I will certainly give it to you. The young man in green robes looked delighted. It was the first time the little demoness called him by his name. Compared to the way Hidaozi addressed him, it was much more pleasing to the ear. I heard that you have a piece of green astral gold and a piece of profound yellow crystal. I want them. Green astral gold. Profound yellow crystal. The young man in green robes showed a pained expression. His name was He Shishio. He was the Tao child of the Eastern Heaven Immortal World's Jade Tao sect. The Jade Tao sect was not a small power in the eastern sky. It had a true immortal overseeing it. However, compared to the godly void pavilion behind the little demoness, it was naturally a lot worse. He had the heart to pursue the little demoness. 30% of it was because of her beauty and 70% of it was because of the power behind her. He kept the green astral gold and the profound yellow crystal in order to refine a flying magical treasure. These 2 items were considered very precious to him. He had never been willing to give these items to others. However, at this moment, in order to please the little demoness, he gritted his teeth and made a decision. He patted his storage pouch and took out 2 tightly sealed jade boxes. He Shishio smiled and respectfully handed the 2 jade boxes to the little demoness. It's just a small gift. If Miss Xiao needs it, you can take it. He Shirshio purposely made a generous gesture. The little demoness took the jade boxes with an evil smile on her face. Then, she directly stuffed the jade boxes into Ning Fan's bosom. Husband, I have helped you get the things I promised you. You have to keep them well. Ning Fan's eyes suddenly darkened as he held the 2 jade boxes. Ning Fan was still thinking why the little demoness was willing to help him ask for these 2 extremely precious treasures. Now, Ning Fan understood. He was tricked by this two-faced woman. He obtained the green astral gold and the profound yellow crystal, but for no reason, he gained a great enemy. Who is he? He Shirshio's handsome face that was as gentle as jade was now filled with a gloomy expression. He took out the precious treasures to please the little demoness, but the little demoness gave them to another man. Moreover, the little demoness called that man husband. He Shirshio, who had always been shrewd, finally calmed down at this moment. He is my big brother Fan. He is one of the 2 helpers I found. The little demoness gave Ning Fan an evil smile. She never helped him for free. She helped him get 2 spiritual materials, but she also wanted to cause some trouble for him. As for why she wanted to torment him, she did not know. She only thought that torturing him was very fun. In this world, only Ning Fan could make her interested in torturing a man. He is your helper. With his void refinement realm cultivation, what can he do? He Shirshio's eyes swept across the blue jade on Ning Fan's waist and revealed a slight disdain. After taking the appearance-changing Dan, Ning Fan's breath began to become erratic, making it hard for others to see through him. He can please me. I like him. The little demoness smiled evilly, successfully igniting He Shirshio's jealousy. Very well, it seems like this trip to Heaven Primordial will be fun. Unfortunately, even the little demoness herself did not realize that the words like were not entirely fake. Ning Fan's expression gradually calmed down. Looking at the little demoness' evil smile, he felt a headache. He should have known that this woman was a demoness. Although he knew that he was played by the little demoness, he could not return the green astral gold and the profound yellow crystal to He Shirshio. In any case, the hostility had already been planted. Even if he returned the 2 items, He Shirshio would only look down on him. It would not change anything. I am Bai Mu from the Light Feather clan of the Demon World. If there's nothing else, I'll take my leave first. Ning Fan kept the 2 jade boxes into his storage pouch and cupped his fists at He Shirshio and the other 3. Then, he led the 500+ female cultivators of the Light Feather clan into the city. His attitude was neither servile nor overbearing. No one could find fault with him. He was not afraid of He Shirshio, but he was also too lazy to provoke him on purpose. Before he left, he gave Yunyomu a deep look. He thought to himself, so this Yunyomu is He Shirshio's helper. He wants to help He Shirshio find the immemorial fisherman's straw painting. The test in the past was very strange. Now, it seems like it was nothing more than that. Seeing that Ning Fan had left, the little demoness suddenly felt a little anxious. For the first time, she was worried if Ning Fan would be angry after she schemed against him. For a moment, she did not even give it a second thought and chased after Ning Fan. She eagerly followed behind Ning Fan and tried to please him by calling him husband, husband. Ning Fan felt a headache. He felt that this little demoness was even more annoying. He was just a little displeased when he realized that he was schemed against. However, because he was familiar with her personality, he knew that she did not have any evil intentions towards him. Thus, he let it go. I'll just take it as being bullied by this demoness. There are really not many women in this world who can bully me. Seeing Ning Fan turn around and leave, He Shirshio's eyes turned solemn and he gradually suppressed the anger in his heart. Just now, he was just angry and that was why he lost his composure. Now that he had regained his composure, the way he looked at Ning Fan was naturally a little different. This young man doesn't seem to be an ordinary void refinement realm cultivator. No ordinary void refinement realm cultivator can remain calm in front of me. This young man might have some abilities, but it's still not enough to snatch a woman from me. If I can gain that woman's favor, I will naturally be able to stand out among the 3 great Taoists of the sect and inherit the Jade Tao sect. No matter what, I can't give that woman to anyone else. Bai Mu, huh? He Shishio turned his head and stared coldly at Gong Yangzi. Then, he ordered in a deep voice. Investigate this man's background within 3 days. I really want to see what kind of ability this person has to be able to make that arrogant woman favor him so much. Chapter 634. When Ning Fan and his group entered Tianyuan City, countless old monsters' gazes swept across Ning Fan's body in the dark. It made Ning Fan feel helpless. It was hard for him to keep a low profile because of the little demoness prank. Now that he was being watched by countless experts of the demon world, he needed to be careful with his words and actions. If his identity as the divine sovereign of the Rain world was exposed, there would certainly be a lot of trouble. It was a taboo for a sovereign of a world to sneak into another world. My dear husband, don't be angry. It's my fault for causing you trouble. I promise that if Shishio comes looking for trouble, I will certainly help you drive him away, okay? The little demoness begged him with all kinds of soft words. She was having fun playing the role of a Tao companion. There's no need. You helped me once and I still owe you a favor. Ning Fan shook his head and sighed. Money could be owed, but a favor should never be owed, especially a favor from the little demoness. Hua Yu and the other female cultivators of the Light Feather clan followed behind Ning Fan respectfully. Each of their eyes were filled with shock. Shishio's words were shielded by his magical power, so they could not hear it clearly. However, the fact that 4 void fragmentation experts specially went out of the city to meet Ning Fan shocked all of them. Old Ancestor Bai Mu has such a great reputation. He has just arrived in Tianyuan City and he already sent 4 void fragmentation old monsters to welcome him personally. Our Light Feather clan has been in decline for a long time. Void fragmentation old monsters are unreachable existences to our clan. It's really unbelievable that Old Ancestor Bai Mu is acquainted with those old monsters. Old Ancestor Bai Mu is really an incredible person. Just half a month ago, these female cultivators of the Light Feather clan were still afraid of Ning Fan's evil reputation. But at this moment, each of them was filled with admiration for Ning Fan. The female cultivators of the demon race always admired the strong. In their eyes, Ning Fan, who was acquainted with 4 void fragmentation experts, was naturally an expert who hid his strength very deeply. Hua Yu would like to ask what realm Old Ancestor's cultivation base has reached. Hua Yu asked carefully. Even though she was convinced that Ning Fan was a void refinement cultivator, she still did not know what realm he was at. Rumor had it that when Old Ancestor Bai Mu was expelled from the Light Feather clan, he was already at the Void Glimpse stage. Wen Su. With the help of the medicinal power of the appearance-changing pill, he purposely released a trace of Void Inquiry stage aura force at the right time. Under this aura, the painted feather demon infant could not help but tremble, but her pretty face revealed a pleasantly surprised expression. Ning Fan's cultivation base was beyond her expectation. However, some of the old monsters who were secretly observing Ning Fan withdrew their spirit sense and muttered to themselves disapprovingly. This young man is just at the Void Inquiry stage, huh? Even though he is acquainted with 4 void fragmentation realm experts, there's nothing to be afraid of. Those who could enter Tianyuan City were all old monsters above the Void Refinement realm. There were at least several thousand Void Refinement realm experts participating in the Dragon Fishing Convention. Even dozens of Void Fragmentation realm old monsters had come. Several of the 10 sovereigns of the Demon realm would also be spectating this event. In such a grand scene, if Ning Fan only had a Void Inquiry stage cultivation base, he naturally would not be worthy of the attention of those old monsters with profound cultivation bases. The information of every old monster that entered the Tianyuan continent would be collected by the demon messengers of the Palace of Yuan and sent back to Tianyuan City. Gradually, some of them obtained Ning Fan's information from the Palace of Origin. As soon as they found out that Ning Fan was actually from the White Feather clan, the number of people paying attention to him became even lesser. The White Feather clan was only an inferior demon clan and wasn't worth mentioning at all. Ning Fan was just a void inquiry stage cultivator and he did not have a strong background. Most likely, he would not get any amazing results in the dragon fishing meeting this time. It was also unknown whether or not he could get a place to participate in the meeting. There were also some old monsters who had heard of Bai Mu from the Light Wing clan thousands of years ago. Whitewood of the Light Feather clan. He's Whitewood. That thief. There were a few Void Refinement Realm old monsters in the city whose wives and daughters were once harmed by Bai Mu. As soon as he heard Ning Fan's name, he naturally vented his anger on him. There were also some who had no grudges with Bai Mu. Initially, they wanted to befriend Ning Fan, but after hearing that Ning Fan was Bai Mu, they gave up on the idea. It couldn't be helped. Bai Mu was notorious for being lecherous and shameless. He wouldn't even let his friend's wife go. But his methods and strength were ordinary. Even some fiendish Dao cultivators kept their distance from Bai Mu. Gradually, no one paid attention to Ning Fan anymore. Even if there were people who occasionally paid attention to him, they would either look at him with disdain or hostility. Ning Fan did not know how much disdain and hostility Bai Mu's notoriety had brought him. Even if he knew, he would not care. The reason why he purposely released his Void Inquiry Stage Qi was to reduce trouble and not attract too much attention. Inside Tianyuan City, there were countless temporary palaces for Void Refinement Realm old monsters to rest. With the Blue Jade token, Ning Fan found a palace that was built beside the Demon River. With the token, he directly moved in and settled the group of female cultivators of the Light Feather clan there. Ning Fan sat alone in the room, looking out of the window while holding a cup of freshly brewed spiritual tea and sipping it. On the pale golden Demon River, one or two pleasure boats would occasionally pass by. In each boat, there were many beautiful virgin cultivators. Most of them were at the Harmonious Spirit Realm or Gold Core Realm. They were singing and dancing gracefully. They were the female cauldrons that the Palace of Origin prepared for the old monsters who entered the city. If any of the old monsters fancied a woman, they could directly take her away and enjoy themselves to the fullest. Ning Fan frowned slightly. He put down the spiritual tea, flicked his sleeves and closed the window, no longer watching those women singing and dancing. In the current cultivation world, the weak could not choose their own fate while the strong could control everything. Ning Fan did not like such an atmosphere in the cultivation world, but he could not change anything. Husband, if you like any woman, just tell me. I will bring her back for you to enjoy. The little demoness appeared in Ning Fan's room out of nowhere. She looked at Ning Fan with a smile. There's no need. Oh. As the successor of Ancient Chaos, it's really strange that you don't like beauties. The little demoness sat beside Ning Fan and casually took Ning Fan's teacup and took a sip. Immediately, a faint rouge mark was left on the edge of the cup. Then, she licked her lips ambiguously and giggled. Hee hee. It's not a good tea. But this is the one that you have drunk before. If I drink it again, it will have a different taste. The lady's appearance could be said to be peerless. Her bright eyes that were like black gemstones were like a mysterious void, making people unable to see through her real thoughts. You are not resting in your room but came to find me. What's the matter? Ning Fan did not believe that the little demoness came to talk about love with him. I came here to ask husband, do you have the ambition to ascend to the Eastern Heaven? You want to recruit me on behalf of the Godly Void Pavilion and grant me an ascension quota to ascend to the Eastern Heaven? Ning Fan's eyes slightly froze. This was the second ascension quota he received. Bei Xiaoman gave him one and now, the little demoness also wanted to give him one. If a cultivator broke through the immortal realm, they could ascend. If they relied on their own strength to ascend, they would naturally face many dangers. With the ascension quota, even a spirit-severing cultivator could ascend to the four heavens without any harm. But if they accepted the ascension quota, they would have to join the faction that granted them the quota after ascension. Thus, whether or not to accept the quota needed to be carefully considered. If I recruit you on behalf of the Godly Void Pavilion, will you go? I will consider it, but I might not go. What if I use the third condition to force you to go? The little demoness smiled slyly. I will go. Ning Fan said indifferently. Hee, look at your reluctant face. I won't force you. With your cultivation base, it's very easy for you to break through the immortal realm and ascend on your own. You still owe me the third condition. I won't use it casually. I'll keep it for now. Perhaps it will be useful in the future. The little demoness smiled evilly and continued. The matter of ascension is over. Let's talk about the fishing rod. In 5 days, Tianyuan City will hold a competition to decide the 500 participants of the Dragon Fishing Convention. With your cultivation base, it's easy for you to obtain the quota. But if you want to catch a demonic dragon, you will first need a purple-grade fishing rod, a fishing rod that can catch yin and yang dragons. A demonic dragon with a yin pearl was a yin dragon, while a demonic dragon with a yang pearl was a yang dragon. To participate in the Dragon Fishing Convention, one would need to hold a fishing rod magical treasure specially made by the Primordial Palace in order to catch a dragon soul. Ordinary grade fishing rod magical treasures were sold everywhere in Tianyuan City. However, if one wants to catch a dragon's soul of the 3rd grade and above, one would need a specially made purple grade fishing rod that could withstand the impact of a 3rd grade dragon soul. Ning Fan came to Tianyuan City late. All the purple grade fishing rods in the city had already been bought by countless old monsters. If he wants to buy a purple grade fishing rod, he would have to order one at the last minute. Purple grade fishing rods were very expensive. They needed to be mixed with many rare spiritual ores. However, it didn't take much time to make them. They could be made in 3 to 5 days. It wouldn't be too late for Ning Fan to order a purple grade fishing rod now. Husband, quickly go to the weapon refinement workshop in the city to order a purple grade fishing rod. Nowadays, there are many old monsters who order purple grade fishing rods in the city. However, the number of weapon refinement masters is limited. If you're late, you won't be able to order a purple grade fishing rod and you won't be able to fish the yin yang dragon pearl. Why didn't you say so earlier? Ning Fan shook his head helplessly. Along the way, the little demoness did not mention anything about ordering a fishing rod at all. She only mentioned it now. It was definitely intentional. Ning Fan originally planned to use the green astral gold and profound yellow crystal to repair the ancient golden sword after resting for a while. Now, it seemed like he had to deal with the fishing rod first. There are a total of 11 weapon refinement workshops in the Jade Slips. All of them have the ability to refine purple grade fishing rods. You can go and take a look. By the way, purple grade fishing rods are very expensive. If it's specially ordered, the price is usually 30% higher. If you don't have enough money, you can borrow it from me. Hee. You and I are husband and wife. If you ask, I will lend you any amount of money. However, if that's the case, you'll owe me another favor. The little demoness passed a Jade Slips to Ning Fan smilingly. Ning Fan scanned the contents of the Jade Slips with his spirit sense and kept it into his storage pouch. He rubbed his temples, which gave him a headache. Without saying anything, he left the palace. He would not borrow money from the little demoness. He could afford a mere fishing rod. As soon as he got out of the palace, Ning Fan restricted his traveling light to the void inquiry stage and flew towards the weapon refinement workshops. There were only 11 weapon refinement workshops that could refine purple grade fishing rods. Ning Fan visited 10 weapon refinement workshops in a row, but none of them could order a purple grade fishing rod. Each weapon refinement workshop only had 6 to 7 weapon refinement masters who could refine purple grade fishing rods. Since Ning Fan came too late, countless old monsters had already come to order one. If Ning Fan wants to order a purple grade fishing rod before the dragon fishing meet, he could forget about it. Am I late? Fine. Let's go to the last one. If I really can't order a purple grade fishing rod, I'll just snatch one. What's so difficult about that? Ning Fan made up his mind. His traveling light flashed and he flew towards the 11th weapon refinement workshop. The last weapon refinement workshop was called Upper 9 Pavilions. It was one of the 3 largest weapon refinement workshops in Tianyuan City. The horizontal board of the weapon refinement workshop was written with golden lacquer. The handwriting was sloppy and there seemed to be a sense of waning interest hidden between the lines. Outside the upper 9 pavilions, there was a large group of cultivators. Most of them were nascent soul realm and divine transformation realm cultivators. Seeing Ning Fan's traveling light descending, all of the cultivators' expressions changed slightly. Occasionally, some of them would complain in a low voice. Sigh. Another senior who orders a purple-grade fishing rod has come. I wonder if Master can successfully obtain the last fishing rod. Sigh. With that person around, even Master can't compete with him. Even this senior might not be able to compete with him. Another person sighed. Of course, the words of these people could not escape Ning Fan's ears. Ning Fan's eyes flickered slightly. It seemed like there was only one purple-grade fishing rod left in the upper 9 pavilions. There seemed to be a few old monsters in the upper 9 pavilions fighting for the last fishing rod. Ning Fan had yet to enter the upper 9 pavilions, but he could already sense 4 to 5 void refinement realm chi. These low-grade cultivators outside the door should be the disciples of the old monsters in the pavilion. It seems like I have to compete for this fishing rod. Ning Fan smiled and stepped into the upper 9 pavilions. There was no void fragmentation realm chi in the upper 9 pavilions. In other words, those who came to compete for the fishing rod were only void refinement realm cultivators. It would not be difficult for him to obtain this fishing rod by bidding for it with immortal jades. At present, he had a total of close to 3 trillion celestial jades on him. A portion of it was obtained from the Vine Palace, and a portion of it was obtained from killing the sect masters of the 3 realms, the Rain Emperor, and the others. He did not think that a few mere void refinement realm cultivators would have more immortal jade than him. If it's a battle of martial arts, Ning Fan was already at the first refinement realm. It was impossible for him to lose to a few void refinement realm cultivators. As soon as Ning Fan entered the upper 9 pavilions, an old man immediately walked out with a bitter smile and cupped his fists to greet Ning Fan. This elderly man was at the void inquiry stage and he was the pavilion lord of the 9 upper pavilions. The void inquiry stage chi that Ning Fan purposely released naturally could not escape his senses. I am the pavilion master of the upper 9 pavilions, Audiobook. May I know your name? Are you here to order a purple quality fishing rod from the upper 9 pavilions? My name is Bai Mu. This time, I am indeed here for the purple grade fishing rod. Ning Fan cupped his fists to return the greeting. His face was calm, but his heart was slightly surprised. The pavilion lord of the 9 upper pavilions was a void inquiry stage cultivator after all, but his name was Audiobook. Audiobook's name sounded like a servant. As soon as he heard that Ning Fan was here for the fishing rod, the bitter smile on the pavilion lord's face became deeper. He sighed and said, Since fellow Daoist is also here for the purple grade fishing rod, please follow me to the main hall for a chat. To be honest, there are 4 other void refinement realm cultivators in the main hall who have the same purpose as you. All of them are here for the fishing rod. Among them, there is 1 void inquiry stage expert, 2 void pierce stage experts, and the last one is Guiyuan Taishu. Is that so? Ning Fan casually answered and followed the pavilion lord into the main hall. His expression was calm and indifferent. If he were to compete for the fishing rod with the 4 void fragmentation realm old monsters, he would have to expend some effort. However, if he were to compete with a few void refinement realm cultivators, it would certainly not be difficult at all. The pavilion lord was inwardly surprised. He deliberately revealed the cultivation bases of the 4 old monsters who were competing for the fishing rod to Ning Fan because he wanted Ning Fan to know the difficulty and back off. 3 of the 4 void refinement realm old monsters who were competing for the fishing rod had higher cultivation bases than Ning Fan. From the pavilion lord's point of view, if Ning Fan knew that Guiyuan Taishu would participate in the competition for the fishing rod this time, even if he did not retreat in fear on the spot, his expression would certainly change slightly. After all, Ning Fan was just a void inquiry stage cultivator. He could not afford to offend Guiyuan Taishu. Normally, He would not dare to compete with Guiyuan Taishu. What surprised the pavilion lord was Ning Fan's indifferent attitude. It was as if Guiyuan Taishu was nothing to him. If it isn't because this young man has a strong background and he is not afraid of Guiyuan Taishu, he must be extremely cunning and does not show his emotions on his face. However, I don't think that this young man can compete with this Guiyuan Taishu. After all, this Guiyuan Taishu also has a strong background. The pavilion lord sighed softly. This Guiyuan Taishu was the disciple of the strongest expert among the 10 great demon sovereigns of this generation, the ape sovereign. In terms of background, what kind of background could compete with the background of a demon sovereign? Ning Fan, of course, did not know what the elderly man was thinking. He followed the elderly man and walked to the main hall after turning left and right. Before they stepped into the main hall, a cold and stern voice of a young man suddenly resounded from inside the hall. It formed a wave of aura force that contained boundless battle intent, rushing towards Ning Fan and the 9 pavilion lords. Oh. Another fellow Taoist has come to compete for this purple-grade fishing rod, huh? That oppressive aura force contained overwhelming battle intent. It even contained the aura force of the Guiyuan realm, which seemed to be able to crush anyone's battle intent. The expressions of the 9 pavilion lords changed. Under that aura force, they hurriedly took a few steps back. Their faces were already flushed and their chi was in a mess. Ning Fan's eyes narrowed. He seemed to be able to see a giant claw of battle intent hidden within that invisible aura force storm. That giant claw could crush anyone's battle intent and make them retreat without putting up a fight. It was a mysterious ability. But that was all there was to it. Ning Fan did not stop walking. He continued moving forward as if he was not affected by the aura force at all. When that invisible claw of battle intent reached his chest, Ning Fan's eyes suddenly turned cold. He raised his hand and flicked his sleeve. All of a sudden, the claw of battle intent was shattered. Immediately, a muffled groan of a young man came from the main hall. The eyes of the 9 pavilion lords were filled with shock. They naturally could not imagine that Ning Fan, who was just at the void inquiry stage, was able to block the divine ability and secret technique of the ape sovereign's follower. Ning Fan did not say much and just walked into the main hall. At this moment, there were 4 void refinement realm cultivators sitting in the main hall. One of them was an old man in purple robes who was at the void inquiry stage, one was a burly middle-aged man who was at the void pierce stage, one was a beautiful woman who was at the void pierce stage, and the last one was a young man in a beast robe who was at the Guiyuan Taishu realm. At this moment, the young man's face was flushed. He was holding his chest with a gloomy expression. When he saw Ning Fan entering the hall, he immediately said coldly, "I didn't expect that a mere void inquiry stage like you could actually break my divine ability of battle intent." "Humph. Are you here to fight for the fishing rod too?" Chapter 635. The eyes of the 4 people in the hall instantly focused on Ning Fan's body. The eyes of the beast-robed young man were filled with cold intent. The other 3 void refinement realm experts, on the other hand, were all shocked. Their hearts were filled with monstrous waves. Who exactly is this person, and what abilities does he have? He actually managed to block Yuan Tong's battle intent attack with his void inquiry stage cultivation base. According to the knowledge of the 3 of them, the young man in beast robe was called Yuan Tong, and he was the disciple of the ape emperor with a cultivation at the origin returning void realm. A single strike of his battle intent was something that few cultivators of the same cultivation could resist. However, Ning Fan was able to block it with just his void inquiry stage cultivation base. It was really unbelievable. Ning Fan's eyes scanned across the main hall. When he saw the 4 void refinement realm experts in the hall, he did not say anything. Behind him, the master of the upper 9 pavilion calmed himself down, followed them in, and said to the crowd, "This is fellow cultivator Bai Mu. This time, he came to our pavilion for the same purpose as all of you, for the purple quality fishing rod. White wood." This time, everyone's expression changed slightly, including the beast-robed young man. Bai Mu of the Light Feather clan was a void inquiry stage expert. When he entered Heaven Primordial City, he was welcomed by 4 Void Fragmentation Realm cultivators, which attracted the attention of many old monsters. However, after that, someone found out that this Baimu was born in the Light Feather clan, a demon race at the end of the current generation. Thousands of years ago, he was infamous for his viciousness. Due to his low strength, he was once chased by a half-step Void Refinement Realm cultivator for a whole year and he did not even have the strength to fight back. Then, he was expelled from the clan and became a laughing stock. No one knew whether Ning Fan was infamous or not. However, none of them believed that Ning Fan's strength was weak. It was especially so for the young man in beast robes. His battle intent divine ability was extraordinary. Few people at the same level as him could break it. However, Ning Fan broke it with just a raise of his hand. The young man in beast robes was certain that Ning Fan's strength was not weak at all. Instead, he was extremely strong and should not be underestimated. However, it was just not to be underestimated. It was not worthy of the beast-robed young man's attention. He was Yuan Tong, the dignified disciple of the Ape Sovereign. His talent was enough to enter the top 3 of the Ape Hall. Among the young geniuses of the beast world, he was a famous character. Naturally, he would not put Ning Fan, who was a nobody, in his eyes. Yuan Tong placed his palm on his storage pouch. He wanted to take out some magical treasures to teach Ning Fan a lesson to avenge his divine ability. At this moment, the upper 9 pavilion master coughed softly and said with a slightly displeased expression, "Fellow Taoist Yuan, this is Tianyuan City. This is the Dragon Fishing Convention, and the old primitive emperor has ordered that private fights are not allowed in Tianyuan City. Anyone who disobeys will be killed." Hearing that, Yuan Tong's face changed slightly. He realized that this was Palace Yuan's territory and it wasn't his territory. Hence, it wasn't appropriate for him to make a move. 10,000 years ago, there was once an old monster who was at the 4th heavenly layer of the Void Fragmentation Realm who thought that he had a profound cultivation base and killed a few people in Tianyuan City. As a result, he was killed by the old primitive emperor in the city the next day. His corpse was hung on the city gate and it shocked the entire demon world. For nearly 1,000 years, the old primitive emperor rarely showed his face. It was said that he had obtained a rare treasure, and with the power of the treasure, he was trying his best to break through to the life-immortal realm. As long as the old Yuan emperor was in charge of the Yuan palace, even Yuan Tong wouldn't dare to ignore the old Yuan emperor's prestige and act recklessly in Tianyuan City. Yuan Tong retracted the cold light in his eyes and did not look at Ning Fan again, as if he had forgotten the unhappiness he had just now. Ning Fan also ignored Yuan Tong. He chose a seat and sat down. Then, he cupped his fists towards the 3 Void Refinement Realm cultivators beside him. Inwardly, he began to ponder. Ning Fan had observed countless people. With just a glance at Yuan Tong, he knew that he must be an outstanding junior of some great force. This person might seem arrogant and unruly, but as soon as he heard that the old Yuan emperor forbade private fights in the city, he immediately stopped. The ferocious might of the old Yuan emperor is really terrifying. At first, Ning Fan was thinking that if he couldn't get his hands on the last fishing rod, he would snatch one in the city. But now, it seemed like snatching the fishing rod was something that he absolutely could not do. Once he does it, he would certainly anger the old Yuan emperor. Since Ning Fan had the means to protect himself, he might not be killed by the old Yuan emperor. However, it would be impossible for him to participate in the dragon fishing meet under the nose of Palace Yuan. All private fights are forbidden in Tianyuan City. In that case, I must get my hands on the last fishing rod of the upper 9 pavilions. Ning Fan pondered and said. The elderly man, the burly man and the beautiful lady had witnessed Ning Fan's capabilities. Thus, they naturally did not dare to be disrespectful. Similarly, they cupped their fists and politely returned his greeting. Seeing that the battle had been resolved, the upper 9 pavilion masters heaved a sigh of relief and said. Including fellow Taoist Bai, there are a total of 5 Taoists here. Who should I sell the last purple grade fishing rod to is really giving me a headache, Pavilion Master, you don't have to be troubled. In a transaction, the one who offers the highest price will get it. Among the 5 of us, the one who offers the highest price will naturally get the last fishing rod. Yuan Tong smiled confidently. He had a total of 3 billion immortal jade with him. All of them were given to him by his master, the ape sovereign. The market price of a purple-grade fishing rod was around 100 million immortal jade. Even though it would be slightly more expensive to order it, it would not exceed 200 million. An ordinary void refinement realm expert who has hundreds of millions of immortal jade would be considered a wealthy person. After all, cultivation was too costly. Yuan Tong firmly believed that he would not lose to anyone at the scene if he were to compete with immortal jade. Of course, he did not know that Ning Fan had 3 trillion immortal jade. His wealth was enough to rival the entire ape palace. We agree with fellow Taoist Yuan's opinion. In a transaction, the one who offers the highest price will get it. The elderly man, the burly man and the beautiful lady smiled confidently. The 3 of them had a lot of immortal jade with them. Each of them had 700 to 800 million immortal jade. What they did not know was that their measly immortal jade was not even a fraction of Ning Fan's immortal jade. I have no objection. The one who offers the highest price will get it. It's only right and proper. Ning Fan said indifferently. All right. Since all of you have the same opinion, I won't say anything more. The last fishing rod will be refined by the most outstanding tool refinement master of our pavilion. This tool refinement master rarely makes a move. However, the purple-grade fishing rod that she refines is definitely the strongest fishing rod in Tianyuan City. It can even catch the legendary Yin Dragon and Yang Dragon. However, the price will naturally not be cheap. The upper 9 pavilion master smiled bitterly and continued. The price of the purple-grade fishing rod that she refines will cost 500 million immortal jade. Besides, she has an additional condition. Only by agreeing to this condition will she agree to refine the fishing rod for you. Fellow Taoists, please bid higher than the base price of 500 million immortal jade. The tool refinement master will refine the purple-grade fishing rod for whoever offers the highest price. As soon as he said that, the expressions of the 4 void refinement realm experts including the beast-robed young man changed. 500 million immortal jade. It's too expensive. Besides, if we want to ask this person to refine the fishing rod for us, we actually have to agree to her condition. This is just too ridiculous. There are countless weapon refinement workshops in Tianyuan City but none of them have ever asked for additional conditions. The upper 9 pavilion master left the last quota for us to bid for. It seems like he has the intention to raise the price. He said that the last fishing rod can be used to catch the Yin Dragon and Yang Dragon. It has been millions of years since anyone managed to catch the legendary dragon souls. Now, it is unknown whether there are still Yin Dragon and Yang Dragon in the dragon raising pond. What's the use of such a good fishing rod? Even though the dragon raising pond could raise dragons, cultivators could not enter the water. The water of the dragon raising pond was mixed with the realm breaking light. Even rogue demons would die if they entered the water. Only the dragon souls that were raised using secret techniques could survive in the pond. No one knew how many dragon souls there were in the dragon raising pond. No one knew whether there were Yin Dragon and Yang Dragon in the pond. The void inquiry stage old man took the lead and said, "Farewell," to the upper 9 pavilion master in displeasure. Then, he directly left without staying any longer. He did not plan to bid for this purple-grade fishing rod anymore. He was just a void inquiry stage cultivator. He might not be able to get a quota for the dragon fishing convention 5 days later. If he failed to get a quota in the end, it would be really unwise to buy such an expensive fishing rod. It would be better for him to buy a random fishing rod and fight for a quota for the dragon fishing convention calmly. The upper 9 pavilion master smiled bitterly when he saw an old monster leave after bidding the price of 500 million immortal jade. The price was indeed a little high. However, it was the price set by his mistress. He had no right to change it. The upper 9 pavilion master glanced at the 4 people at the scene. The void pierce stage burly man and the beautiful woman did not leave. They gritted their teeth slightly and made up their minds. Even if they knew that the fishing rod was expensive, they still had to fight for it. Yuan Tong's eyes turned slightly serious. Gradually, he put away his astonished expression. 500 million immortal jade was indeed very expensive. However, he could still afford it. He just did not know what other conditions that the master blacksmith had added. Ning Fan's expression was as calm as an ancient well. He was the only one who was not shocked by the high price of 500 million immortal jade. Ning Fan never had the concept of money. To him, money was snatched from others and not earned. No matter how much money he spends, he would not feel any heartache. May I know what the master blacksmith has added? Ning Fan asked the upper 9 pavilion master. That master blacksmith has a request. If you buy her fishing rod and manage to catch a yin dragon and a yang dragon, you must lend her 2 dragon pearls. The upper 9 pavilion master answered. This condition is not too much. The burly man and the beautiful woman nodded their heads. Yuan Tong also heaved a sigh of relief. It was more than just not too much. In the eyes of the three of them, there was no difference whether this condition was mentioned or not. Who could catch a yin dragon and a yang dragon that no one had managed to catch for millions of years? Ning Fan frowned, but he did not say anything else. The reason he came here this time was for the yin-yang dragon pearls. If he really manages to catch a yin-yang dragon pearl, he would have to lend it to the master blacksmith. In that case, there would be some more twists and turns. However, since this master blacksmith was so obsessed with the yin dragon and yang dragon, the fishing rod that she refined might be helpful in catching the yin dragon and the yang dragon. Fellow Taoists, if you don't have any other questions, you may bid now. I'm willing to bid 530 million immortal jade. The middle-aged burly man was the first to speak. He. I'm willing to bid 550 million immortal jade. The beautiful woman smiled with a seductive smile. 560 million. 570 million, 600 million. The burly man's eyes flashed with ferocity and shouted the price that made his heart ache. The beautiful woman gritted her teeth and clenched her fists. She wanted to bid again, but eventually, she sighed and gave up. She smiled bitterly and said, I give up. Seeing that the beautiful woman gave up, the burly man's expression relaxed. He looked at Yuan Tong and Ning Fan. His forehead was covered with sweat. Fellow Taoists, are you not going to bid? The burly man asked nervously. 700 million. Yuan Tong revealed a confident smile. As soon as he heard the high price, the burly man's face immediately turned pale. However, he gritted his teeth and said stubbornly, 710 million. Just as his voice fell, Yuan Tong said again, 800 million. The burly man became silent. He was not far away from breaking through to the absolute void stage. To him, the dragon fishing convention that was held once every 1,000 years was the best opportunity to do so. If he had a purple-grade fishing rod and caught a few high-grade dragon souls, it would not be too difficult for him to break through to the absolute void stage. If he was lucky enough to catch a first-grade dragon soul which contained a dragon pearl, he would have a great chance to break through to the absolute void stage in this lifetime. For this glimmer of hope, he was willing to take a gamble. 810 million. Before he could finish his words, Yuan Tong sneered. 900 million. As soon as the price was announced, the burly man stood up abruptly and looked at Yuan Tong in disbelief, as if he could not believe that Yuan Tong would bid such a high price. Then, as if he had lost all of his strength, he fell back onto the chair and said in despair, Fine. I give up. I'm not going to bid for this fishing rod anymore. Not only did he give up on the fishing rod, but his confidence to break through to the Great Tao was also crushed by Yuan Tong. The beautiful woman lost the bid, but her Tao heart was not damaged. Since the burly man lost the bid, his Tao heart was cracked and he lost the confidence to break through to a higher cultivation realm. It would be difficult for him to break through to the absolute void stage in this lifetime. 900 million immortal jade. This disciple of the ape sovereign is really generous. What a ruthless scheme. The eyes of the upper 9 pavilion lords were filled with shock. Each of Yuan Tong's words contained his battle intent ability. He used the price of 900 million immortal jade to destroy the Tao heart of the Void Pierce stage burly man step by step. Not only did he win the bid, but he also left a shadow in the middle-aged burly man's Tao heart that he would never be able to erase for the rest of his life. This man is really ruthless. Fellow Taoist Bai, aren't you going to bid? Yuan Tong glanced at Ning Fan arrogantly with a hint of provocation. He was trying to arouse Ning Fan's battle intent first before destroying his Tao heart step by step. The battle intent ability of the Ape Hall could attack a cultivator's Tao heart and cause it to collapse. Ning Fan inadvertently glanced at Yuan Tong and his eyes narrowed slightly. It was a decent battle intent ability, but it was useless against him. On the contrary, he could do the opposite and destroy Yuan Tong's battle intent and confidence step by step. 910 million. Ning Fan imitated the Void Pierce stage burly man and only increased the price by 10 million immortal jade. 1 billion. Yuan Tong sneered. 1 billion. Ning Fan's expression remained unchanged. 2 billion. 21 billion. 5 billion. Yuan Tong glanced at Ning Fan confidently. From his point of view, the reason why he raised the price step by step was to give Ning Fan a feeling that he was unsurpassable and invincible. He, Yuan Tong, was unsurpassable and undefeatable. Once Ning Fan has this kind of mentality, even if it is just a trace of it, Yuan Tong could still destroy Ning Fan's Tao heart in a single move with the battle intent ability in his words, causing his Tao heart to collapse. At this moment, this young man's face should be as pale as dead ashes, just like that burly man. Yuan Tong tried to find a trace of dejection on Ning Fan's face, but he realized that his face was still as calm as an ancient well. There was no trace of emotion at all. 51 billion. Then, Ning Fan still only increased the price by 10 million immortal jade. His behavior was silently mocking Yuan Tong. 6 billion. Yuan Tong's eyes turned grim. The firmness of Ning Fan's Tao heart was out of his expectation. It was hard to destroy it. The price had already been raised to 6 billion. Even with Yuan Tong's wealth, he found it a little hard to bear. He did not dare to raise the price by a few 100 million immortal jade at once. It was too much of a loss to spend such a huge amount of immortal jade on a mere purple-grade fishing rod. 61 billion. Ning Fan's voice was still emotionless. 7 billion. 71 billion. 8 billion. 81 billion. Ning Fan continued to raise the price by 10 million immortal jade. Yuan Tong was purposely raising the price to give others a feeling that he was undefeatable. From this perspective, he wanted to crush his opponent's Tao heart. Ning Fan, on the other hand, followed closely behind and approached his prey at a leisurely pace. When he reached Yuan Tong's limit, he defeated him in one go. Beads of sweat gradually appeared on Yuan Tong's forehead. He had already raised the price to 7 billion immortal jade. However, Ning Fan still slightly opened his mouth and raised the price to 71 billion immortal jade. He did it on purpose. This young man must be doing it on purpose. He obviously has countless immortal jade on him, but he insisted on increasing the price by 10 million immortal jade. He purposely gave Yuan Tong an invisible pressure, damn it. If I bid 8 billion immortal jade, will this young man add another 10 million immortal jade? When this thought flashed across Yuan Tong's mind, his expression immediately changed. How is this possible? I am the dignified Yuan Tong. How could I feel a lack of confidence in front of Ning Fan? To Yuan Tong, having a lack of confidence was extremely fatal. The battle intent divine ability that he cultivated required the cultivator to have an inextinguishable battle intent. It required the cultivator to have the confidence and courage to challenge the experts in the world. If his confidence crumbles, his Tao heart will crack and there will be endless troubles in the future. To Yuan Tong's shock, he realized that he was unknowingly guided by Ning Fan in this bidding. Originally, he would never bid 7 billion immortal jade. However, Ning Fan purposely suppressed his opponent's desire to win and followed up slowly. He was preparing to crush Yuan Tong's Dao heart at the last moment. That was close. I almost fell for this kid's scheme. This young man might not have 7 billion immortal jade on him, but he definitely has the intention to destroy my Dao heart. I am the disciple of the ape sovereign. I only have 3 billion immortal jade on me. What ability does this young man have to be compared to me? Yuan Tong's eyes turned serious. He suddenly rose to his feet and stared at Ning Fan with a cold expression. Then, he suddenly patted his storage pouch and pointed outside the hall. All of a sudden, a mountain of immortal jade appeared outside the hall. There was a total of 8 billion immortal jade. 8 billion. He shouted the price and took out the immortal jade in front of Yuan Tong. He turned his head to look at the upper 9 pavilion masters and said, I suspect that Bai Mu is purposely raising the price so that I will buy the fishing rod at a high price. I don't believe that he has 7 billion immortal jade. At this moment, the upper 9 pavilion masters were already extremely shocked. The burly man and the beautiful woman were also breathing rapidly. They were so shocked that they could not speak a word. A fishing rod that was worth 100 million immortal jade in the market had actually been raised to 8 billion by Ning Fan and Yuan Tong. If this matter is spread out, Tianyuan City would have another topic to talk about during their leisure time. Before the upper 9 pavilion masters could speak, Ning Fan nodded with a smile. Fellow Taoist Yuan is right. If I don't show them the immortal jade, it would give them the illusion that I'm purposely raising the price. 81 billion. As expected, Ning Fan added another 10 million immortal jade. He also patted his storage pouch and raised his hand to point outside the hall. Immediately, a mountain of immortal jade appeared outside the hall. There was a total of 81 billion immortal jade. What? This young man really has so many immortal jade? Yuan Tong's heart shuddered. As the disciple of the ape sovereign, he always had a sense of superiority. This sense of superiority had increased his confidence to a certain extent and raised his battle heart that was not afraid of strong enemies. However, at this moment, he realized that his identity as the disciple of the ape sovereign was nothing special at all. This Bai Mu who came out of nowhere actually possessed a huge amount of wealth that was not any weaker than his. If that was the case, what was his usual arrogance and conceit worth? After being stunned for a moment, he actually did not continue bidding. It was as if he had already admitted defeat. At this moment, a crack appeared on Yuan Tong's Dao heart. It was just a tiny crack. If it can be mended in time, it could still be repaired. However, Ning Fan was not prepared to give Yuan Tong the chance to mend his Dao heart. Currently, he was in Tianyuan City. Due to the prestige of the old Yuan sovereign, he could not kill Yuan Tong. However, it did not mean that Ning Fan could tolerate Yuan Tong's intention to harm him. Since Yuan Tong wanted to destroy Ning Fan's Dao heart, Ning Fan would not hesitate to give him a taste of his own medicine. Oh, fellow Taoist Yuan, are you not going to bid anymore? Why don't you let me bid for you? 9 billion. Ning Fan raised his hand and took out 90 million immortal jade and threw it outside the hall. He had intentionally raised the price. Yuan Tong's eyes widened. He did not expect that Ning Fan would continue to raise the price after snatching the fishing rod. 3 billion. Ning Fan threw out another 100 million immortal jade. Yuan Tong's face turned pale. 3 billion immortal jade was already his base price. He could not win against Ning Fan at all. Ning Fan observed every single expression on Yuan Tong's face. He could vaguely tell that 3 billion immortal jade was Yuan Tong's entire wealth. In that case, he could destroy Yuan Tong's Dao heart in one go. 4 billion, 5 billion. 7 billion, 9 billion. 10 billion. Ning Fan raised the price 5 times in a row and threw out 5 immortal jade. In just an instant, the price of the purple-grade fishing rod was raised to 10 billion. Looking at the immortal jade outside the hall that was as tall as a mountain, Yuan Tong felt an unprecedented sense of defeat and coughed out a mouthful of blood. 10 billion immortal jade. That was 10 billion immortal jade. Even his master, the ape sovereign, would definitely not be willing to throw 10 billion in one go. This man's wealth was so strong that he could not be compared to him. Yuan Tong had admitted defeat. This meant that the undefeatable battle intent that he had cultivated for his entire life had crumbled in an instant. Those who wanted to fight would never admit defeat and admit defeat. Once they lose their confidence, they would no longer have the courage to challenge the other experts and the determination to attain the great Tao. The burly man and the beautiful lady were stunned. 10 billion immortal jade was something that they could never imagine. The upper 9 pavilion lord gave Ning Fan a deep look. In an instant, he was certain that Ning Fan was a ruthless person that he could not afford to offend. Yuan Tong wanted to destroy his Tao heart. Thus, he would do the opposite and destroy Yuan Tong. Bai Mu, I will remember this. Humph. Yuan Tong forcefully swallowed the blood in his throat and gritted his teeth. Then, he turned into a ray of light and left in a hurry. His Tao heart had already been destroyed. He must immediately look for his master. Perhaps, there might still be a chance for him to recover. As he left in a hurry, he did not even have the time to bring the 8 billion immortal jade with him. The burly man looked at Ning Fan with gratitude and cupped his fists to salute him. Then, he left. The bidding had already ended. It was meaningless for him to stay here any longer. Yuan Tong had destroyed his Tao heart while Ning Fan had indirectly avenged him by destroying Yuan Tong's Tao heart. Of course, he was grateful to Ning Fan. The beautiful lady also had no intention of staying here any longer. She bid farewell and left. What happened today had given her a huge shock. A bidding war was even more thrilling than a battle of life and death. The killing was done without anyone noticing. The purple-grade fishing rod is now mine. 5 days later, I will go to the upper 9 pavilions to get the rod. Ning Fan rose to his feet and cupped his fists at the upper 9 pavilion lord. Then, he was about to leave. However, he still had a calm expression on his face. To him, 10 billion immortal jade was just a drop in the ocean. It was not worth mentioning. Fellow Taoist, please wait. If my mistress wants to forge a fishing rod for you, she will need to tailor-make it. Thus, she needs to meet you. Fellow Taoist, please follow me to meet my mistress. Don't worry. It won't take too much of your time. Your mistress. Ning Fan was stunned and stopped in his tracks. He did not know that the last remaining weapon refinement master of the upper 9 pavilions was the person whom the dignified pavilion lord treated as his mistress. One should know that the pavilion lord of the upper 9 pavilions was a cultivator of the Origin Palace. All the cultivators of the Origin Palace could only have one master, and that was the primitive emperor. The mistress that he mentioned could only be the relative of the primitive emperor. That's right. Even though I am the pavilion lord of the upper 9 pavilions, the one who makes decisions in the upper 9 pavilions is my mistress, Xian. Chapter 636. Miss Purple Heart. Ning Fan's eyes flickered slightly. Without saying anything, he followed behind the upper 9 pavilion masters and walked towards the inner palace. The primitive emperors of the Hall of Origin were all surnamed Tan. The old primitive emperor's name was Tan Tianyan, so this Miss Zixin should be called Tan Zixin. Unexpectedly, the person behind the upper 9 pavilions was actually an important figure in Yuan Palace. The upper 9 pavilion masters collected all the immortal jades outside the hall. They were still in shock. He led Ning Fan through the halls and pavilions. Along the way, he briefly told Ning Fan about Yuan Tong's identity. Now that Ning Fan was also considered as a distinguished guest of the upper 9 pavilions, he would certainly entertain him well. Of course, he would also inform him of some information. After hearing that Yuan Tong was the disciple of the ape sovereign, Ning Fan just nodded his head without much emotion. The Ape King's physical body could shatter 7, but it was still not a match for the rogue devil. Even if the rogue devil could only attack once more, Ning Fan was not afraid of the ape sovereign. Seeing that Ning Fan was not afraid of Yuan Tong's background, the master of the 9 upper pavilions was greatly surprised. However, he did not ask much and continued to lead the way. Behind the inner hall was an entire refining workshop with countless furnaces and forging tables. As soon as they saw the 9 upper pavilion lords and Ning Fan, all of them stopped what they were doing and saluted them respectfully. At the back of the workshop, there was an independent refining room. Inside the refining room, a young girl in a light purple strapless dress was standing in front of the forging table. She was swinging a golden hammer that was even bigger than her body and smashing it down heavily. The girl had a thin ponytail and a purple and white scarf wrapped around her head. Her fringe was wet with sweat and stuck to the corner of her forehead. Her eyebrows were thin and long, and her face was devoid of makeup. She was as calm as the moon. Her cultivation base was already at the peak of the divine transformation realm, not far away from the void refinement realm. Her plain face was covered in dust, but it couldn't hide her beauty. She wore a light purple headscarf, and her eyes were focused on the flying sword she was forging. At this moment, it was as if the entire world had come to a standstill, leaving only her and the flying sword in front of her. She seemed to have fallen into a state of oblivion. The upper 9 pavilion lords made a shushing gesture at Ning Fan and stood respectfully at one side, waiting for the young lady to finish her refinement. Ning Fan did not say anything to disturb her. Instead, he looked at the purple-robed young lady quietly. This was the first time he had seen such a focused gaze. It had a captivating charm. The flying sword that the young lady forged was a high-grade mortal void realm flying sword. It could be used by void pierce stage cultivators. The girl's refining technique was extraordinary, and the flying sword was refined to an extremely high level. The forging of this treasure had reached the final stage. The young girl suddenly felt dizzy, as if she had thought of the knot in her heart that was difficult to resolve. Because of this distraction, the golden hammer, which was supposed to be smashing down, paused in the air and slowed down by half a beat. Crack! With this distraction, a hair-thin crack appeared on the originally perfect flying sword. The young girl was startled. She put down the golden hammer and stroked the scorching hot sword without saying a word. This crack could be repaired, but even if it was repaired, it would not be perfect. What a pity! With a wave of her hand, the girl threw the half-finished flying sword into an iron frame at the side. Within the iron frame, there were already quite a few magic treasures of decent quality lying there. They were all failed products that the young girl was dissatisfied with. In the past, she wouldn't be distracted during refining, but now, Grandpa. If it wasn't because of me, he wouldn't have hurt his demon soul at that critical moment. It's all my fault. At this moment, there was a hint of regret in the young girl's eyes. This regret was very similar to the Tao connotation in the horizontal board of the upper 9 pavilions. Ning Fan could not help but recall the name of the upper 9 pavilions. The 2 words upper 9 had a meaning. According to the hexagram of the Book of Changes, the upper 9 pavilions, the proud dragon has regrets. This girl might have some regrets in her heart. Ning Fan guessed. The young girl remained silent for a while. Then, she took out a purple handkerchief and wiped the dust and sweat on her face. She turned her head and suddenly realized that the master of the upper 9 pavilions and Ning Fan were also here. She was surprised. Ah, Joe. Why are you here? This is... The young girl looked at Ning Fan doubtfully, indicating that she did not know him. He is the person who came to order a purple-grade fishing rod from Mississippi. His name is Bai Mu. Oh. Are you here for the purple-grade fishing rod? The young girl's eyes suddenly turned serious as she stared at Ning Fan. Even though her cultivation base had yet to reach the void refinement realm, her spirit sense was extremely strong and had already reached the void inquiry stage. She could sense Ning Fan's void inquiry stage qi. Even though his qi was not strong, it was overly concentrated and reserved. Ning Fan seemed to be somewhat extraordinary. He was not an ordinary void inquiry stage expert. If he was strong enough, he would have a high chance of winning the dragon fishing convention. If he could participate in the dragon fishing convention and had his own fishing rod, he might be able to catch yin dragons and yang dragons, by Mu, right? Since you're here, you should have already agreed to my conditions, right? If I manage to fish out the yin dragon and yang dragon, I will have to borrow the 2 dragon pearls. Of course, no one has fished out a yin dragon or yang dragon for millions of years. You probably won't be able to catch one. I'm just saying it casually. The girl's voice was very pleasant to listen to, like pearls falling on a jade plate, making it unforgettable. If I may be so bold as to ask Miss Zixin, what do you want to use the yin-yang dragon pearl for? Ning Fan suddenly asked. This question caused the young lady to be a little startled. Why would Ning Fan care about this? He had the confidence to fish up the yin dragon and the yang dragon, so he was interested in her purpose of borrowing the dragon pearl. I have my reasons, and I can't tell you for now. However, you don't have to worry. Even if you manage to fish out the yin-yang dragon pearl, I will only borrow it. I won't snatch anything from you, and I won't borrow it for too long. I can guarantee this with my identity as the young master of the Origin Palace. Is that so? Ning Fan secretly used the mind-reading technique to see through the young lady's thoughts while he was talking to her. This lady was the daughter of the current primitive emperor, Tan Zixin. The old primitive emperor, Tan Tianyan, was her grandfather. The reason why she wanted to ask for the yin-yang dragon pearl was to save someone. As for who she wanted to save and why she needed the dragon pearl, she couldn't see through it at all. When Ning Fan reached this point, he suddenly couldn't see through anything else. He relied on the yin-yang force of the yin-yang locket to see through the lady's thoughts. However, a trace of yin-yang force suddenly emerged from the lady's body, blocking all of Ning Fan's senses. Yin-yang subdued yin-yang. The cultivation method that this lady cultivated wasn't the yin-yang transformation. This trace of yin-yang force was obtained by chance from the outside world. She couldn't control it, but it played a role in blocking her thoughts at critical moments. The young lady didn't know that Ning Fan had seen through her thoughts. Although Ning Fan couldn't see through all of her secrets, he understood that this lady didn't want to snatch the yin-yang dragon pearl from him. She really just wanted to save someone. As such, Ning Fan was slightly relieved that this lady didn't have any evil intentions. I promise to refine a purple rank fishing rod for you. However, the fishing rod that I refine is similar to a natal magical treasure. Different cultivators have to use different techniques to refine it. Leave me a few drops of your demon blood. I will carefully analyze the blood and refine a purple rank fishing rod that is most suitable for you. You don't have to worry about it. I will never use your demon blood for evil purposes. I can make a great heart devil oath on this matter. The young lady's expression was very serious. It was a taboo to ask for demon blood from others. Many secret arts and abilities that poisoned others required blood as a medium. Ning Fan frowned. His demon blood was the blood of the Fuli tribe. Although no one knew about it, he didn't want to show it to others easily. However, if he didn't leave a few drops of his demon blood, he wouldn't be able to refine a fishing rod. It would be really troublesome. Seeing Ning Fan's hesitant expression, the young lady knew that Ning Fan didn't trust her and was reluctant to hand over the demon blood. She sighed slightly and didn't force him. Then, she said, forget it. There's still a compromise. Leave a natal magical treasure with me and I will refine a fishing rod for you according to your natal magical treasure. How about it? After that, you will personally drip your blood on the fishing rod to make it recognize you as its master. I won't do this step. Alright. Ning Fan didn't hesitate. He touched his glabella with a finger and took out a sword that was as clear as silver starlight and passed it to the young lady. This Separation Slayer sword was one of the few natal magical treasures that he had. It could be put to some use. Good sword. What a pitiful sword. A pitiful sword that doesn't have its master's love. The young lady took the Separation Slayer sword. She caressed the cold body of the sword and rolled her eyes at Ning Fan. She took a closer look at the sword and realized that it wasn't just a 2-star divine weapon. The refining technique was also very mysterious. Some of the techniques were something that even she couldn't compare to. However, the owner of this sword really didn't cherish this sword. It was a dignified 2-star divine weapon, but he neglected to refine it and didn't go through the late stages of cultivation. She was originally a beauty, but she became a thief. This was what the young lady was feeling at this moment. It was really a waste for a good separation slayer to follow Ning Fan. After being scolded by the young lady, Ning Fan had a feeling that he couldn't explain himself. In recent years, he had indeed neglected to refine magical treasures. The reason was that his cultivation base improved too quickly and the refinement of magical treasures was too time-consuming. Therefore, he didn't divert his attention to refine the Separation Slayer sword. He didn't even cultivate a few magical techniques seriously. All along, he would use whatever magical treasures he found and throw them away after he finished using them. Whenever he learned a magical technique, he would use it for a few times and then throw it away when its power was insufficient. To an ordinary void inquiry stage cultivator, they would naturally have a lot of time to refine magical treasures and practice magical techniques during their thousands of years of cultivation. Ning Fan didn't have much time. Therefore, he could only do whatever he could to get to where he was today. Alright. I have received the sword. You can go back and prepare for the competition that will be held 5 days later. Try to get a place in the dragon fishing convention. If you can't get into the top 500 in the competition, everything you do is just empty talk. After the competition, come and get the fishing rod. The young lady carried the Separation Slayer sword and walked out of the refinement room like a precious treasure. No one knew where she went. Ning Fan and the pavilion masters of the 9 upper pavilions exchanged glances. Cough cough. My family is obsessed with the art of refining treasures. Please forgive me for my rudeness. The pavilion master of the 9 upper pavilions said apologetically. It's all right. Miss Zixin is a straightforward person. Why would I care about such trivial things? Ning Fan chatted with the pavilion masters for a while longer. He did not return to the palace in a hurry. Instead, he bought a large number of items in Tianyuan City. He did not forget to search for heavenly ingredients and earthly treasures that could help Luoyu recover her primordial spirit. Most of these items had the effect of restoring primordial spirit power. Ning Fan also bought 5 high-grade heavenly dwelling treasures. After spending 100 billion immortal jade, it was difficult for him to buy a 6th one. High-grade heavenly dwelling treasures were too rare. It was not easy to cultivate the whirlpool technique to the golden spiral realm. As soon as he returned to the palace, Ning Fan met the little demoness and briefly told her about the fishing rod. Then, his body flashed and he went into the profound Yin world. He passed a large number of heavenly ingredients and earthly treasures to Luoyu for her to devour and refine. As for himself, he sat cross-legged on the dark cloud. He patted his storage pouch and took out the ancient golden sword. There were still 5 days before the competition. During these 5 days, Ning Fan decided to use the green astral gold and the profound yellow crystal to repair and upgrade the ancient golden sword and absorb the power of the 5 high-grade heavenly dwelling treasures. 5 days later, thousands of void refinement realm experts and tens of void fragmentation realm experts in Tianyuan City would participate in the competition of the Immortal Ascension Tower. The Immortal Ascension Tower was a gigantic tower in the northern part of Tianyuan City. It had 500 floors. In each floor of the Immortal Ascension Tower, there was a supreme-grade immortal abode. On the day of the competition, all cultivators above the void refinement realm could enter the tower. After the competition, only the 500 cultivators who occupied each floor would be able to obtain the quota to fish for the dragon. According to the floor occupied, the 500 cultivators would be able to obtain different rewards. The reward for the 500 floor was the lowest while the reward for the first floor was the best. As for the specific rewards, they would be announced on the day of the competition. There were dozens of void fragmentation realm cultivators participating in the competition this time. Ning Fan did not think that he could get the first place, but it should not be difficult for him to enter the top 10. He did not need the help of Nia Li and the rogue devil to defeat Yun Xiaoxiang, who was arrogant. If he uses Lei Zhenzi's notoriety, it would be enough to scare away 5th Heavenly Layer Void Fragmentation Realm old monsters. However, it would be difficult to scare away old monsters with higher cultivation realms. First, I'll repair the ancient sword with the green astral gold. After this sword is repaired, its speed will surpass Rain Sovereign and Moksha Sovereign. Ning Fan's eyes were filled with anticipation. A ball of black devil flames rose from his palm and began to burn the green astral gold. Tan Zixin returned to her boudoir. She held the separation slayer that was as beautiful as starlight and kept wiping it. Tonight, she did not start to refine a purple-grade fishing rod. Instead, she was studying the sword intent of the separation slayer and Ning Fan's character. Only by doing so could she refine a purple-grade fishing rod that was most suitable for Ning Fan. She caressed the separation slayer. Through the traces of coldness on the sword, she seemed to be able to understand Ning Fan's hardships along the way. This sword had been accompanying Ning Fan since he was at the Vein Opening Realm. Harmonious Spirit Realm, Gold Core Realm, Nascent Soul Realm, Divine Transformation Realm, Void Refinement Realm, Void Fragmentation Realm. Along the way, this sword had killed countless people. It also contained Ning Fan's countless sorrows and joys. He is a lonely man. Therefore, the sword intent that he left in this sword is very pure. Once the blade is drawn, it will never turn back. How can it be? How can it be? Zixin's eyes were suddenly filled with shock. She had seen countless swords, but she had never seen a flying sword that had such a harmonious balance of yin and yang. The separation slayer had been accompanying Ning Fan every day. After it was changed by the power of the yin-yang locket, it naturally showed such changes. At this moment, Zixin was not shocked by the sword but Ning Fan himself. Ning Fan possessed a kind of power that could rebalance the disordered yin and yang. Perhaps, with this person around, she could save her grandpa without the yin-yang dragon pearl. Grandpa. Perhaps this person can save you. But I'm not sure yet. I'll let Uncle Zhou test this person on the day of the grand competition to see if he can rebalance the disordered yin and yang. If he can, Grandpa will be saved. Grandpa was injured because of me. If Bai Mu really has a way to save Grandpa, I will ask him to help no matter what price I have to pay. I will fulfill all the conditions. The grandpa that Tan Zixin kept thinking about was none other than the old primitive emperor. 400 years ago, she was bitten by a poisonous beast by mistake. Although the poisonous beast was killed, the yin-yang poison in its body was not weak, and it almost killed Zixin. The old primitive emperor had to use all of his magical power to transfer the yin-yang poison into his body. Because of this, the old primitive emperor who was about to become an immortal suffered from the backlash of the yin-yang poison. The demon soul in his body was split into two, separating yin and yang. If the yin and yang couldn't be reunited, the old primitive emperor would never be able to become an immortal in this lifetime. His demon soul was separated and his cultivation base was severely damaged. No one knew that the old primitive emperor's life was in danger now. He no longer had the prestige he once had. The current Tan Tianyan was just an old man who was waiting for death. Before she could confirm that Ning Fan had the ability to save the old primitive emperor, Zixin would not tell him about this rashly. She wanted to wait for the grand competition that would take place 5 days later. She wanted to wait for the result. During the process of waiting, she had to do her best to make a perfect fishing rod for Ning Fan. Tan Zixin, who had always been indifferent to worldly affairs, wanted to befriend someone for the first time. Moreover, that person was a man. In order to save her grandpa, she was willing to give up everything just to satisfy Ning Fan. He's my last hope. Bai Mu. Chapter 637. The difficulty of repairing the ancient golden sword was far beyond Ning Fan's estimation. 5 days had passed and Ning Fan had only managed to repair the ancient sword with the green gang gold. He no longer had the time to use the profound yellow crystal to improve its grade. The repaired ancient sword was slightly slower than Mieli, but it was faster than most cultivators in the Five Shatter realm. It was even more difficult to upgrade the quality of the ancient sword using the mystic yellow crystal, but if he succeeded, it would not be difficult for the ancient sword to travel at a speed comparable to that of an itinerant immortal. Even if I have the mysterious yellow crystal, I can only wait until I have a lot of time in the future to refine the ancient sword. At the peak of the Fifth Shatterer realm, that should be good enough. Ning Fan kept the ancient sword and the profound yellow crystal. Then, he took out the 5 high-grade heavenly abode treasures and drew out his heavenly dwelling power to devour them one by one. With the refinement speed of the profound Yin world that was 100 times faster, Ning Fan quickly absorbed the power of the 5 high-grade heavenly dwellings and integrated them into his natal heavenly dwelling. Within the Life Grotto Heaven, 8 of the 72 silver continents had already been dyed gold. Ning Fan opened his eyes and stretched out his hand. There was a dazzling silver vortex revolving in the center of his palm. It had a tinge of gold in it. In order to further improve the power of this technique, I'll need to find a large number of high-grade Grotto Heaven treasures. It's not easy. Ning Fan rose to his feet and stood in the hazy sky. He scanned the thatched cottage behind him with his spirit sense. Within the straw hut, Luoyu slowly absorbed the energy of the heavenly resources to repair her soul. He did not disturb her. With a wave of his hand, he took out the Rain Sovereign's storage pouch and took out an item from it. It was a low-grade Immortal Void Spirit Gathering Array plate. Ning Fan took out the formation plate and performed a hand seal. The formation plate immediately hovered in the sky, forming a huge spirit-gathering formation around the thatched cottage. This formation could speed up her absorption of the medicinal energy. In the Rain Emperor's storage pouch, there were no powerful offensive treasures, but there were too many life-saving treasures and cultivation items. A blank Rain Gate Jade Scroll, a Battle Cloud Talisman, a Spirit-Gathering Formation Disc to speed up cultivation, 100,000 Dao Crystals, and 3 Imperial Immortal Talismans. The Immortal Control Talisman was a type of defensive Immortal Talisman. Once activated, it could block an attack from a loose Immortal. However, one talisman could only block one attack. If there was really a loose immortal pursuing him, the Rain Emperor could use the Imperial Celestial Talisman to block an attack, and then use the Battle Cloud Talisman to quickly escape. Unfortunately, he was unable to escape the clutches of the Scattered Devil. There were several ancient scriptures in the pouch. Even Ning Fan didn't dare to underestimate them. Among them, the Sovereign Rain Primordial Art was a cultivation method that every Rain Sovereign had to cultivate. Ning Fan had already cultivated it a long time ago. Thus, he did not attach too much importance to it. Ning Fan's attention was focused on the Driving Crane Scripture, Ascending Cloud Scripture, and Feather Transformation Scripture. These were 3 ancient scriptures that recorded the process of 3 immortals overcoming life and death. The first immortal lived in seclusion in the mortal world for 1,000 years. He called himself the Plum Wife and Crane Child. He took pleasure in raising cranes. After 1,000 years, he saw through life and death and rode a crane to become an immortal. The second immortal lived alone in the valley for 500 years. He looked at the sea of clouds in the morning and watched the sunset at dusk. After 500 years, he suddenly had an epiphany and ascended the clouds to become an immortal. The third immortal drew life and death into his body, causing his corporeal body to die and his primordial spirit to grow endlessly. Then, his corporeal body died and his primordial spirit ascended to become an immortal. These 3 ancient scriptures contained the experiences of immortals becoming immortals. To Ning Fan, it was a rare treasure. See through life and death, ascend and become an immortal. Ning Fan kept the 3 ancient scriptures and his eyes turned slightly serious. He had already understood what was real and what was false, but he had yet to understand life and death. Becoming an immortal was still a long way off. Ning Fan's body flashed and returned to the temporary imperial residence in the outside world. At this moment, night had just fallen in the outside world. The grand competition would be held after dawn. Ning Fan intended to adjust his breathing properly and maintain his peak condition. Just as he was about to return to the bed and sit down cross-legged, he saw a lady sitting on the bed. She was leaning against the bedpost and sleeping lightly. That lady was a nascent soul realm female cultivator of the White Feather clan, Hua Yu. She did not sleep very deeply. Ning Fan's approach woke her up. Hua Yu greets old ancestor. Hua Yu immediately got up and knelt in front of Ning Fan. Today, she was still wearing a feather robe on the outside, but she did not seem to be wearing much inside. She was only wearing a thin veil. Within her eyes, there was a hint of helplessness, shyness, and determination. Why did you come here to look for me in the middle of the night? Ning Fan flicked his sleeve and helped Hua Yu up. I. Hua Yu bit her lips with her pearly white teeth. She mustered up her courage and said, I'm willing to recommend myself to sleep with you. Please take pity on me, old ancestor. Recommend yourself to sleep with you? Ning Fan looked at Hua Yu deeply. Even though he had not known this lady for long, he knew that she was not a frivolous person. Occasionally, he used the mind-reading technique and found out about one thing from this lady's heart. The divine transformation realm old ancestor of the Light Feather clan had taken a fancy to Hua Yu and wanted to take her as his concubine. However, Hua Yu would rather go into seclusion for 100 years and stubbornly refuse the old ancestor's order. Even in the face of power, this lady had never done something like recommending herself to sleep with him. Tonight, however, this lady came to his side and offered herself to him. Ning Fan was not narcissistic enough to think that this lady had feelings for him. Then, the reason why she offered herself to him was naturally because she had a request. As soon as he used the mind-reading technique, Ning Fan immediately saw through her thoughts and could not help but sigh. There was a reason why this lady wanted to offer herself to Ning Fan. She knew that Ning Fan was strong, but she also thought that he was lustful. In the past, Bai Mu had humiliated countless women in the clan. That was why he was expelled from the clan. Hua Yu was grateful to Ning Fan for saving her and the remaining members of the clan. However, she was also worried that Ning Fan would humiliate all the women in the clan. Her idea was very simple. She wanted to use her body to exchange for the safety of the women in the clan. Yes. Hua Yu is willing to give herself to old ancestor. I hope that old ancestor will take pity on me. As she was speaking, Hua Yu undid her feather clothes. Below the feather clothes was a thin undergarment that was like a veil. Below the undergarment, there were no other clothes. Vaguely, one could see the beauty of her body. There was a trace of self-hurt in her eyes, but she concealed it very well. It was very worthwhile to dirty herself and save the rest of her sisters, wasn't it? Hua Yu's face turned slightly pale when she imagined that she would be attacked by Ning Fan without any scruples. She reached out her slender and soft fingers, preparing to take off her undergarment as well and present her graceful body to Ning Fan without any reservations. Stupid. Don't worry. I won't touch any of the female cultivators of the Light Feather clan. Just have a good rest here. As for serving me in bed, there's no need for that. Ning Fan lifted his hand and pointed at Hua Yu's glabella with a trace of extremely weak plucking finger force. Hua Yu's body immediately fell limp on the bed behind her and fell into a deep sleep. Ning Fan pulled a thin blanket and covered her delicate body. Then, he turned around and walked out of the room. He was a selfish person who could commit countless sins of killing for his own selfishness. However, he did not dislike selfless people. At this moment, he suddenly thought of Yin Suchio, who had already ascended to the southern heaven realm. The cultivation world was extremely cruel. Only selfishness could protect one's own safety. Selfless people were undoubtedly stupid. However, they did not do anything wrong. They were just born in the wrong era. In this era, the lives of the weak were as cheap as grass. To be honest, this was not the era that Ning Fan yearned for. Just like the women in the pleasure boats on the Demon River who could not choose their own fate. If the women of the Light Feather clan did not have Ning Fan's help, they would have long become the human cauldrons of the cultivators of the Black Crane clan. If Ning Fan did not fight against his fate with all his might, he would have long died in the miserable night of the All-Pleasure sect. Ning Fan stood in the night with his hands clasped behind his back. He slowly walked out of the palace and approached the demon river that was brightly lit outside the palace. Ning Fan stood by the riverside for the entire night. On the demon river, there were women playing the zither and singing from time to time. The lyrics and music were obviously cheerful and their voices were obviously flawless. However, Ning Fan felt that their voices were very unpleasant to the ears. The music was joyous but the people were sad. These women who were singing and dancing did not like their fate. They just did not have the strength to struggle and resist. They were alive but their hearts were dead. Their thoughts had already turned into ashes. Life remains. Heart remains. There are the two intents of life and death in this song. Ning Fan muttered to himself. As he muttered to himself, a voice of agreement suddenly resounded beside him, causing Ning Fan's expression to change. Little friend, you're right. Even though these women are alive, their hearts are dead. There are the two intents of life and death in this song. I'm listening to this song here and what I'm listening to is the two intents of life and death. The reason why the Yuan Emperor created these women singers is to befriend the old monsters in Tianyuan City and win their hearts. I don't like his way of doing things. The one who spoke was a skinny old man who wore a conical bamboo hat and a straw raincoat. He was holding a fishing rod and fishing at the bank of the demon river. There was not a trace of magic power or chi around his body. This old man looked like a mortal but Ning Fan knew that there would not be any mortals in Tianyuan City. When did this old man appear beside Ning Fan? Ning Fan had no idea at all. No, it should be said that this old man had been fishing at this place all along but Ning Fan did not see him at all. It was only until this person spoke that Ning Fan realized that this old man was beside him. This person's chi concealing technique was heaven-defying. One should know that even experts like the Rain Sovereign and Moksha Sovereign would not be able to hide from Ning Fan's senses and hide beside him. Even though this old man did not reveal his magic power chi, his strength was definitely much stronger than Moksha Sovereign, Yunshi and even the sect masters of the three worlds. Ning Fan spread out his spirit sense slightly, trying to find out the old man's background. However, he found that the old man's chi was as deep as the sea and immeasurable. Rogue demon. Almost in an instant, Ning Fan confirmed that this fishing old man was a rogue demon. There were 3 great rogue demon old monsters in the demon world. All of them stayed in seclusion in their respective territories all year round and never left their homes. They were all trying to break through to the life immortal realm. The rogue demon who appeared in Tianyuan City was probably the terrifying old monster who guarded the primordial palace. The old primitive emperor, Tan Tianyen. Ning Fan was certain that the old man in front of him was Tan Tianyen. However, this old man gave him a strange feeling. Even though he was a rogue demon, his chi was a little abnormal as if he was injured. The old man wearing a bamboo hat naturally knew that Ning Fan was probing him. However, he did not care about it at all. He had a good impression of Ning Fan. He had been fishing in this place for many years but no one could see him. The old man sat there for a long time. His eyes were dark and gloomy as he watched the primitive emperor befriending countless old monsters by sacrificing female singers. Of course, he knew the reason why the primitive emperor did that. The yin and yang of the old man's demon soul had separated and he was not far from death. Once he dies, it would certainly cause a commotion in the primordial palace. The current primitive emperor needed to befriend a large number of experts to stabilize the primordial palace's position. The old man knew about these reasons. Thus, he did not stop the primitive emperor from doing what he did. However, he did not like what the primitive emperor did. He, Tan Tianyen, had always looked down on those who were stronger than him. He had never killed an innocent person before. He had also never used women to befriend others. Even though he was a cultivator, he had once befriended an emperor of the mortal world. That emperor of the mortal world had already passed away a long time ago. However, he had always followed a principle throughout his life. This principle was also the principle that Tan Tianyen lived by. No marriage, no reparations, no ceding of land and no paying tribute. The emperor would guard the gates of the country and the emperor would die for the country. It was a kind of integrity and persistence. Tan Tianyan had his own persistence. When he saw an old monster at the fourth heavenly layer of the void fragmentation realm killing people for fun in Tianyuan City, he did not hesitate to kill him with a single palm strike. There was nothing wrong with killing on the path of cultivation because it was impossible to avoid battles. However, if one kills for fun, he would be a cultivator in vain. The old man wearing a bamboo hat sat there with a natural Tao rhyme. He had his own persistence and his own Tao. He had seen countless people in this place. Many old monsters had come to the demon river to choose a woman and brought her back to their chambers to have fun. Only Ning Fan's eyes were as clear as water when he looked at the beautiful female singers. Only those with a clear Tao heart could hear the meaning of life and death from the music. The old man's back was facing Ning Fan. From the beginning to the end, he did not look at Ning Fan, but it was as if he had seen through Ning Fan countless times. He could tell that Ning Fan had consumed some kind of qi concealing pill. The grade of the pill was extremely high, which concealed Ning Fan's true cultivation base. Even he could only see through Ning Fan's background after using a secret technique. A void fragmentation realm cultivator with a bone age of 1,000 years. Ning Fan's innate talent was really something that the old man had never seen in his life. Ning Fan's Tao heart and Tao comprehension, in particular, made the old man even more excited. The old man could also tell that Ning Fan had an indestructible Tao in his heart. He was a rogue demon. The 10 sovereigns of the demon world were all his juniors. However, he addressed Ning Fan as little friend. Obviously, he regarded Ning Fan as his peer. Little friend, you aren't a cultivator of the demon world, right? The qi of the cultivators of the 9 worlds is slightly different after all. The old man said indifferently. Ning Fan was secretly shocked. This person's abilities were really great. He could actually tell that I am not a cultivator of the demon world with just a glance. I won't ask why you entered the demon world while concealing your identity to participate in the dragon fishing convention. However, Tianyuan City has its own rules. You can't kill anyone in the city. The old man could also tell that Ning Fan's baleful qi was terrifying. He was a devil that ran amok in a region. That was why he reminded him. What if someone offends me first? Ning Fan's eyes turned serious and asked. Kill. The old man's eyes suddenly flashed with a blood-red light. It was condensed from baleful qi. His baleful qi was definitely not any weaker than Ning Fan's. The number of lives he had killed was certainly not less than Ning Fan's. I promise that I won't kill anyone in Tianyuan City. However, if someone offends me, I won't be merciful anymore. Ning Fan cupped his fists at the old man. That's enough. I only have one friend in my life. However, he was immortal and has already passed away. What a pity. Meeting you today, it seems like we hit it off well. After tomorrow, the Immortal Ascension Tower will hold a grand competition. You should be participating, right? Yes. If that's the case, I don't mind telling you a secret. The reason why the Immortal Ascension Tower is named as such is because it contains the great secret of life and death that can help people ascend to immortality. The Tao of life and death of the ancestors of my Yuanyi clan is engraved on the stone walls of the 500 abodes in the tower. The past primitive emperors who possess this jade can comprehend life and death on the stone walls and cultivate the life and death qi. The Tao of life and death carved on the first 20 floors of the abodes belong to immortals. I can lend this jade to you. Without seeing how the old man moved, a piece of ancient golden jade suddenly flew towards him through the air. There was a picture of a huge golden-winged bird carved on the golden jade. It was an ancient demonic beast called Yuanyi. According to legends, Yuanyi fed on dragons in ancient times and was extremely powerful. The ancient jade carried an unstoppable aura force. Even a third heavenly layer void fragmentation realm cultivator might not be able to withstand it. Ning Fan retreated while pointing his finger at the ancient jade. His finger force landed on the ancient jade and neutralized the force of the ancient jade. After tens of times, he neutralized the strong force of the ancient jade and kept it in his hand. When he looked at the old man again, he had already disappeared. He scanned the ancient jade with his spirit sense and found nothing wrong with it. He did not say when he would take back the ancient jade, but he would probably get it back when the time came. Ning Fan's eyes flickered. Even though the old man seemed to be injured, his strength was still slightly stronger than the rogue devil. If he recovers, he should be able to defeat the rogue devil. So this is the strength of the old primitive emperor. I just didn't expect that this person would grant me a fortune. Just do what I want. All the 500 abodes in the Immortal Ascension Tower have the Tao of life and death. If that's the case, I can take a peek at the stone walls of the abodes if I enter the tower. Huh? Ning Fan kept the ancient jade and his eyes turned cold. There were not many opportunities to comprehend the Tao of life and death. This was an extremely important opportunity for him to become an immortal. He must not miss it. The night came to an end and the sun rose. Outside the Immortal Ascension Tower in the northern part of Tianyuan City, cultivators were constantly rushing to this place. Today, there would be a battle inside the Immortal Ascension Tower. After the battle, the 500 experts who would participate in the dragon fishing convention would be decided. The leader of the Black Crane clan had used the ancient teleportation formation to call his friends from afar and rushed to Tianyuan City. He was a Void Pierce stage expert. Beside him were 3 helpers who were all at the Void Pierce stage. Bai Mu. I will definitely make you die in the Immortal Ascension Tower. The leader of the Black Crane clan sneered in his heart. Chapter 638. As time passed, thousands of old monsters gradually gathered at the foot of the Immortal Ascension Tower. All of them were Void Refinement Realm and Void Fragmentation Realm experts who intended to participate in the competition. There were high platforms on all 4 sides of the Immortal Ascension Tower. The north platform was filled with cultivators from Palace of Origin, while the other 3 sides were filled with disciples brought by old monster Shinbai. This was a grand meeting to decide the 500 participants of the dragon fishing convention. As for those low-grade cultivators who were unable to enter Tianyuan City, they gathered outside the city and watched this grand occasion through the shadow-bearing jade wall. Outside Tianyuan City, there were shadow-bearing jade walls that were tens of thousands of zhang tall erected in 4 directions. The jade disc could transmit images. Of course, they could only see what was happening outside the Immortal Ascension Pagoda. Cultivators outside could not see what was happening inside the pagoda. On the north side of the Immortal Ascension Pagoda, there were 10 purple gold seats. These 10 purple gold seats were prepared for the 10 demon emperors. The primitive emperor was wearing a gold-feathered cloak. He looked like a middle-aged man with a short beard. He looked dignified as he sat in the middle of the 10 seats, stroking his beard with a smile. Beside the Yuan Emperor sat the other 3 demon emperors. Not all the demon emperors attended the Hall of Origins meeting. Only 3 of the other 9 demon emperors had come. Western Demon Sea Snow Fox Palace's Demon Emperor, Fox Emperor. The Demon Emperor of the Northern Demon Sea's Green Bull Palace, Green Emperor. He was the Snake King of the Southern Demon Sea's Serpent Palace. The Fox Sovereign was a beautiful woman in white robes. Her cultivation base was at the 4th heavenly layer of the Void Fragmentation Realm. Every frown and smile of hers carried charm. The Green Emperor was a burly man with 2 horns on his head. His short beard was like a halberd and his eyes were like that of a tiger. His cultivation base was at the 6th heavenly layer of the Void Fragmentation Realm. The Serpent Sovereign was an old woman with white hair and a stooped figure. Her almond-shaped eyes were even more spirited than a young girl's, making her look extremely strange. Her cultivation base was at the 6th heavenly layer of the Void Fragmentation Realm. The Fox Emperor's strength was considered to be at the bottom of the 10 great demon emperors, but because the Snow Fox Palace had an itinerant demon overseeing it, no one dared to underestimate the Fox Emperor of this generation. There was still some time before the start of the competition. The Yuan Emperor, the Fox Emperor, and the Green Emperor were exchanging their cultivation experiences. The serpent's sovereign old woman narrowed her almond-shaped eyes and searched for prey in the crowd below, licking her lips from time to time. I wonder if there is a cauldron that can make my eyes light up in this conference. The old woman thought. The demon sovereigns of the Lust Dragon clan had always cultivated the plucking technique. This old woman had plucked tens of thousands of men in her life. Below the Immortal Ascension Pagoda, 46 Void Fragmentation Realm experts stood proudly in each direction. Without a doubt, these 46 Void Fragmentation Realm experts would certainly be able to obtain the quotas for the General Assembly. He Shirshio's group was naturally included in this group. The 4 of them were not cultivators of the demon realm, but they dared to appear in the demon realm openly. Naturally, they relied on He Shirshio's identity as a Taoist of the Jade Dao sect. This identity was enough to deter the 10 sovereigns of the demon world, but ordinary people did not know this. Whitewood, the White Feather clan's martial cultivator, Humph, I never thought that the dignified divine void young master Xiao Qianxi would actually take a liking to such scum. He Shirshio's eyes were filled with disdain and a sense of humiliation. He was a dignified Taoist of the Jade Dao sect, but he couldn't even woo the little demoness. How could such a person win the little demoness' heart? A few days passed, and He Shirshio obtained a lot of information about the Light Wing clan's Bai Mu. At first, he thought highly of Ning Fan. However, after reading the information, he immediately despised Ning Fan. When Bai Mu was just at the Void Glimpse stage, he was hunted by a mere half-step Void Refinement Realm cultivator for a year. Bai Mu humiliated a large number of females of his clan and was expelled by his clan. He was the shame of the Light Wing clan. The information he obtained was enough to show that Bai Mu was weak, unbearable, despicable, and shameless. He was the scum of the cultivation world. He Shirshio only thought that Ning Fan was Bai Mu. Thus, his heart was naturally filled with disdain. I'm afraid that Xiao Qianxi purposely addressed this person as her husband just to provoke me. She has always been proud and arrogant. It's impossible for her to take a liking to such a scum. Forget it. This Bai Mu has a bad reputation and he's so unbearable. He's not enough to pose a threat to me. However, there might really be something special about him that can help us in our journey to search for the map. Since that's the case, I'll keep him alive for the time being. Yun Youmu, Xian Hua and Gong Yangzi were standing behind He Shirshio. Xian Hua and Gong Yangzi were resting with their eyes closed while Yun Youmu's eyes were filled with confusion. In the past few days, he could not forget the strange sense of familiarity that Bai Mu gave him. He felt that he must have seen Bai Mu somewhere before. However, he just could not remember where he had seen him before. Behind the 46 Void Fragmentation Realm experts were thousands of Void Refinement Realm experts. There were around 100 Primordial Void Stage experts alone and another 200 Absolute Void Stage cultivators. There were around 2,000 Void Glimpse Stage, Void Inquiry Stage and Void Pierce Stage cultivators. The Patriarch of the Black Crane clan and his 3 good friends were all at the Void Pierce Stage. They could be considered as old monsters who were famous in a region. However, it was difficult for them to attract attention in such a grand occasion. With their strength, they would certainly have to fight a tough battle if they want to obtain one of the 500 spots. Bai Mu isn't here yet. I can't wait to tear him into pieces. The Patriarch of the Black Crane clan smiled sinisterly. Behind him, the 3 Void Pierce Stage experts also sneered. I heard that the last star stone of the Light Feather clan is with Bai Mu. If we kill Bai Mu, this star stone. Of course, it will belong to the 3 of you. The Patriarch of the Black Crane clan laughed. Ning Fan walked along the Demon River towards the northern part of the city. His pace was not fast. However, every step he took covered an immeasurable distance. His ears were filled with the zither tunes that were played day and night on the Demon River. When those tunes fell into Ning Fan's ears, he gradually separated them into life and death. Comprehending life and death was a stage that one must go through in the path of becoming an immortal. Each of the 500 abodes in the Immortal Ascension Tower contained the Tao of life and death. I must comprehend all of them at least once. Ning Fan's eyes were filled with battle intent. Originally, he wanted to snatch a abode from the top 20 and wait for the competition to end. Today, however, he wanted to visit all 500 abodes and not miss out on any of the Tao comprehensions of Ancestor Yuani. What is life and what is death? Ning Fan's pace suddenly quickened. With a flash, he disappeared from the bank of the Demon River. When he reappeared, he was already under the Immortal Ascension Tower. It was a gigantic tower that was 1,000,000 zhang tall. There was a heavenly dwelling inside the tower. Each level of the tower was a mid-grade heavenly dwelling. The entrance was not at the bottom but at the top of the tower. Cultivators who want to enter the tower had to go down from the top. Ning Fan's current identity was Bai Mu, a void inquiry stage cultivator. His arrival did not attract much attention. Only a few people's expressions changed. He's here. It's Bai Mu. The eyes of the clan leader of the Black Crane clan and his 3 friends flashed with cold light. Humph. It's Bai Mu. He Shishio smiled in disdain. Yun Yomu's eyes flickered. Once again, he felt a strange sense of familiarity from Ning Fan's body. On the purple golden seat on the high platform in the north, the eyes of the snake sovereign flickered. She stared at Ning Fan's direction in disbelief. This young man has such a perfect body. He's an excellent human cauldron. Unfortunately, Tan Tianyan has given an order that private fights are not allowed in Tianyuan City. Otherwise, I will definitely capture this young man and bring him back to the palace to have some fun. Forget it. After he leaves Tianyuan City. The old woman's eyes turned cold. As soon as Ning Fan entered the venue, he suddenly sensed several cold gazes. There were too many experts in this place. Their spirit sense was in a mess. It was not easy to identify the source of the gazes. Before Ning Fan could identify the source of the gazes, the great elder of the primordial palace suddenly soared into the sky and stood in the sky. He lifted his hand and crushed a golden jade slip. The great elder's name was Zhou Nan. He was at the 4th heavenly layer of the void fragmentation realm. As soon as he soared into the sky, he immediately attracted the attention of countless people. As soon as the jade slip was crushed, countless dazzling golden words appeared in the sky. The competition will begin at 6 o'clock a.m. and end at 6 o'clock a.m. the next day. When it ends, all the fellow Taoists who have a cave dwelling will obtain a place to participate in the dragon fishing convention. Apart from that, they will also receive additional rewards. Those who obtain the 1st to 20th floor of the cave dwelling will receive an origin clear pill. Those who obtain the 1st to 100th floor of the cave dwelling will receive a void fragmentation pill. Those who obtain the cave dwelling after the 100th floor of the cave dwelling will receive an absolute void pill. In the Immortal Ascension Tower, killing is not allowed unless it's absolutely necessary. Those who violate this rule will die. Ning Fan's eyes scanned through the golden words without saying anything. However, many old monsters at the scene exclaimed in surprise, including a few void fragmentation realm cultivators. Origin clear pill. This is the most precious pill of the Origin Palace. It's a 7th grade pill. Any cultivator below the 5th heavenly layer of the void fragmentation realm who consumes it can greatly improve their spirit sense cultivation base. Initially, I was planning to just snatch a random cave dwelling. But now, it seems like I have to compete for this origin clear pill. One of the void fragmentation realm old monsters was overjoyed. His spirit sense was already on the verge of breaking through. If he can obtain the origin clear pill, his spirit sense would probably improve by 1 heavenly layer. Void fragmentation pill. It's a pill that can increase the chances of obtaining the void fragmentation realm by 5%. For the sake of this pill, I must get into the top 100 floors no matter what. The eyes of an origin returning old monster shone brightly. Absolute void pill. With this pill, I can officially go into seclusion after the competition ends and attempt to break through to the absolute void stage. A void pierce stage old monster was overjoyed. Great Elder Zhou Nan smiled faintly. The reason why the Origin Palace took out these rewards was obviously to make the competition more intense. Only then would they be able to select the 500 strongest individuals to participate in the dragon fishing convention. Weaklings were not qualified to fish for dragons. Open the door of the tower. Zhou Nan suddenly gave an order in a deep voice. Immediately, 4 void fragmentation realm experts of the Origin Palace soared into the sky. They turned into 4 giant golden-winged birds and flew towards the top of the tower. So these are the Origin Wings demon birds. Ning Fan's eyes flickered as he looked at the 4 giant golden-winged birds. Dragons were true spirits. The Origin Wings fed on dragons. Thus, they were naturally very strong. Although they were slightly weaker than the immemorial Dark Sparrow, they were not much weaker. In the demon spirit land of the upper world, the Origin Wings clan was considered as a very strong true spirit clan. The 4 Origin Wings giant birds flew to the top of the tower and flapped their giant wings. Rays of golden light shone on the giant door at the top of the tower. Immediately, the door slowly opened with a loud bang. The 4 Origin Wings giant birds flashed with golden light and flew back to the high platform in the north, turning back into 4 void fragmentation realm cultivators. The rumbling sound of the door opening lingered in everyone's ears. The moment the door opened, Great Elder Zhou Nan suddenly said, "The competition begins now." As soon as he finished speaking, he glanced at Ning Fan's direction inconspicuously. Then, he took the lead and turned into a ray of golden light, directly entering the giant tower. The people on the scene obviously did not expect that the Great Elder of the Yuan Palace would participate in the competition. However, they did not mind it at all. 46 void fragmentation realm experts flew into the sky at the same time and entered the giant door at the top of the tower. Then, rays of light flew into the sky one after another, heading towards the giant door. Ning Fan was not in a hurry to enter the Immortal Ascension Tower. The cultivators who entered first would either gather at the first few floors and fight for the abodes, or they would go all the way down. However, it was still difficult for them to avoid battles. Ning Fan's goal was to go through all 500 abodes. In other words, he would have to experience at least 500 battles in order to enter the abodes and comprehend life and death. He only had 1 day to go through all 500 floors. Time was very tight. Hence, if anyone tries to block his way, he would have to use thunderous means to repel them. When most of the cultivators had entered the abodes, Ning Fan turned into a strand of smoke and floated towards the tower. The eyes of the clan leader of the Black Crane clan turned cold. He brought his 3 helpers and quietly turned into a ray of light and chased after Ning Fan. One after another, Void Refinement Realm old monsters entered the giant tower. At the end of the day, there was no one outside the Immortal Ascension Tower. In the Demon River Palace, the little demoness who was leisurely brewing tea muttered to herself, "I wonder which floor my little Fan will be able to get to." In the upper 9 pavilion's weapon refinement workshop, Tan Zixin had just completed the last step of refining her fishing rod. The competition should have already begun. I wonder what Uncle Zhou's results will be. On the high platform at the north of the Immortal Ascension Tower, the Yuan Emperor was discussing the Tao with the Fox Emperor and the Green Emperor. Suddenly, his eyes were filled with shock. At a certain moment, an overwhelming battle intent suddenly descended in the direction of the Immortal Ascension Tower. Countless cultivators raised their heads and looked towards the sky. What they saw was a 30,000 zhang tall ferocious ape standing proudly above the dark demonic clouds. The aura emitted from the ape was enough to suffocate all the cultivators below the void fragmentation realm. The Yuan Emperor's expression changed. The expressions of the Fox Emperor, the Green Emperor and the Snake Emperor changed as well. "Ape Emperor, why did you come here so aggressively?" The Yuan Emperor could tell that the ape did not come with good intentions. This ferocious ape was the ape sovereign, and behind him were hundreds of experts, including Yuan Tong. The ape emperor's physical body had already reached the 7th heavenly layer of Nirvana realm. He had once defeated a 7-broken devil sovereign of the devil world with a single punch. The ape emperor was cruel and cold-blooded. In a fit of rage, he once raised his staff and stirred up the East Sea, slaughtering hundreds of races there. The ape emperor came with bad intentions. Everyone felt an invisible pressure. Bai Mu, who are you? The giant ape asked coldly. An extremely domineering voice exploded like thunder, causing tens of thousands of low-level cultivators to cough up blood at the same time. Bai Mu. The sovereigns exchanged glances with each other. Obviously, they did not know who Bai Mu was. How could he provoke the ape emperor? The Yuan emperor knew who Bai Mu was. Bai Mu had entered Tianyuan City a few days ago for the dragon fishing convention. He had caused quite a commotion and even attracted the attention of the Yuan emperor. However, after reading the information about Bai Mu, the Yuan emperor immediately forgot about him and stopped paying attention to him. Those who were worthy of his attention were at least void fragmentation realm cultivators. A mere void inquiry stage cultivator like Bai Mu was not enough. At this moment, the Yuan emperor was greatly surprised. A mere void inquiry stage cultivator like Bai Mu actually dared to provoke the ape emperor. He was really bold. Bai Mu has already entered the Immortal Ascension Tower and is now participating in the competition. The Yuan emperor said indifferently. Is that so? Hee hee. If that's the case, I also want to enter the Immortal Ascension Tower. I want to meet this Bai Mu. The ferocious ape turned into a ray of black light and was about to fly towards the Immortal Ascension Tower. The Yuan emperor's eyes turned cold. He pointed a finger at the sky and stopped the fleeing light of the ferocious ape. Yuan emperor, why are you stopping me? The ferocious ape was enraged. This is Tianyuan City. All of you have missed the opening time of the Immortal Ascension Tower. You can no longer enter this tower. The Yuan emperor's eyes turned cold. Of course, he would not let the ferocious ape enter the tower and kill people wantonly inside. Rules were rules. He could not violate the rules set by the previous Yuan emperor, and neither could the ferocious ape. I can't enter the tower. The ferocious ape's eyes darkened. He did not put the Yuan emperor in his eyes at all. But when he thought of the unfathomable old Yuan emperor in the Yuan Hall, the ferocious ape did not dare to be presumptuous anymore. With a flash of black light, the ferocious ape retreated from his demon form and turned into a black-robed man with thick hair. He led a group of men and landed on the high platform in the north and sat on the purple gold seat with a cold expression. Forget it. I will wait here for Bai Mu to come out of the tower. Go ahead. The Yuan emperor returned to his seat. He was weighing whether he should offend the ape emperor for Bai Mu. He had never thought of protecting Bai Mu as it would incur the wrath of the ape hall. But he had never thought of betraying Bai Mu and pleasing the ape emperor. He was not a servant of the ape hall, there was no need for him to humble himself. Moreover, the Yuan emperor knew that the reason the great elder entered the Immortal Ascension Tower was to investigate a person for his daughter. The person he was investigating seemed to be Bai Mu. This Bai Mu really knows how to cause trouble. But it's a little strange. Zixin has always been uninterested in any man. Why would she suddenly care about this infamous Bai Mu? Could it be Zixin has fallen in love with this Bai Mu? As soon as this thought emerged in his mind, the Yuan emperor's face immediately darkened. Bai Mu's reputation was too bad. As her father, how could he not be worried if his daughter fell in love with such a person? If his daughter really fell in love with Bai Mu, should he stop her or follow her wishes? Sigh. The Yuan emperor let out a long sigh, feeling a headache coming on. Ning Fan did not know about the ape emperor's arrival. As soon as he entered the Immortal Ascension Tower, he was immediately teleported to a certain area on the 500th floor. I wonder where the abode of the 500th floor will be located. Even though the heavenly dwelling was vast, it was only tens of thousands of li wide. Ning Fan slowly spread his spirit sense, covering the entire heavenly dwelling in an instant. After withdrawing his spirit sense, Ning Fan immediately flew towards a certain direction with a flash of traveling light. In that direction, there was a tall mountain with a supreme-grade abode at its belly. At this moment, there were more than 10 Void Glimpse stage cultivators fighting for this abode. There was also a Void Inquiry stage old man among them. Relying on his profound cultivation base, he would occasionally attack and defeat the void glimpse stage cultivators in the crowd with a ray of red sword light. Humph. This old man is determined to get this abode. Don't fight with me for it. Otherwise, I won't show any mercy. Each of the void glimpse stage cultivators looked at the void inquiry stage old man in fear. He's old monster Kenfeng of the Fire Silkworm clan. This is bad. He has a void inquiry stage cultivation base. We can't win against him and can't get this abode. Should we give up? Let's join forces and defeat this person. Then, we void glimpse stage cultivators will fight for the abode again. What do you think? Seeing that all the void glimpse stage cultivators were about to join forces to deal with Kenfeng, an extremely cold baleful chi suddenly descended from the sky at this moment. That icy cold chi made each of the old monsters' souls tremble. They could not imagine how many people the owner of this baleful chi had killed to possess such terrifying baleful chi. I want to enter this abode to have a look. I don't want anyone to disturb me. Those who are not involved, step down. Chapter 639. I want to take a look around the cave, and I don't want anyone to disturb me. Those who are not involved, step down. The voice wasn't loud, but it contained a shocking killing intent. It was like countless claps of thunder exploding in everyone's ears. Including Kenfeng, everyone's face instantly turned pale. Kenfeng was afraid, extremely afraid. Ning Fan approached him step by step. His aura force was as majestic as a mountain and he did not dare to resist it. However, when he saw Ning Fan's appearance, he was immediately stunned. You are Bai Mu. Bai Mu from the Light Wing clan? All of the void glimpse stage cultivators were stunned. Initially, they were still afraid of Ning Fan. However, after hearing the identity of the person in front of them, all of them suppressed the fear in their hearts and did not leave in a hurry. Everyone was hoping for luck, especially Kenfeng. He had once seen Ning Fan entering the city with his own eyes and felt his void inquiry stage chi. This Bai Mu is clearly a void inquiry stage cultivator. Why is his baleful chi so terrifying? Fake, it must be fake. He is a void inquiry stage expert and so am I. There's no need to be afraid of him. Kenfeng kept convincing himself in his mind. Finally, he mustered up his courage and raised his hand. A ray of scarlet sword light pierced through Ning Fan's heart. Ning Fan, however, did not even look at the scarlet sword light. Instead, he continued walking forward. When the scarlet sword light was about to hit his body, a silver crack suddenly appeared 3 chi in front of him and a silver vortex appeared out of nowhere. As the whirlpool retracted, the scarlet sword radiance was sucked into the whirlpool and lost its connection with Kenfeng. White wood. How dare you snatch my intrinsic flying sword? Kenfeng was enraged. Without hesitation, he rushed towards Ning Fan. Halfway there, a silver vortex suddenly appeared in the air, and he was almost sucked into it. Kenfeng had a premonition that with his cultivation level, he would definitely die if he was sucked into the whirlpool. All of a sudden, he retreated and stared at Ning Fan in shock. The vortex gradually disappeared. Ning Fan was the one who removed the whirlpool. If Ning Fan wanted to kill him, he would have already died. I've spared you twice, there won't be a third time. Ning Fan's tone was extremely indifferent. He walked past the crowd and went straight to the cave. All of Kenfeng's hair stood on end. He knew that Ning Fan was not joking. If Ning Fan was willing, he would have already died twice. Every level of the cave abode was protected by a formation light and guarded by demonic puppets. The formation light of the abode on the 500th floor was roughly at the low-grade mortal void realm. Inside the abode, there was also a void glimpse stage demon puppet guarding it. Ning Fan slowly approached the formation light. He lifted his finger and pointed at it. Without using any ability, the formation light directly collapsed. He had to rely on his physical body to break through the formation, and there was no need for him to use any divine abilities. The void glimpse stage spiritual puppets that guarded the abode were extremely violent. They would risk their lives to fight anyone who entered the abode. Generally speaking, one could only enter the abode by destroying the puppet. However, with just a glance from Ning Fan, the puppet suddenly revealed a look of fear, not daring to attack Ning Fan at all. Ning Fan did not kill Can Feng nor did he subdue his spiritual puppet. He had promised Tan Tianyan that he would not kill anyone, and he would definitely do it. He didn't take away the demon puppet of Palace of Origin. The old primitive emperor had given him an opportunity, and if he were to snatch the puppet away, it would seem like he was biting the hand that fed him. This Bai Mu has such a terrifying physical body. One finger could shatter the mortal void formation light. If he wants to kill me, he only needs to casually point his finger. Moreover, what a strange divine ability he has. Just a look from him actually made a void glimpse stage demon puppet feel fear. I can't afford to offend Bai Mu. Can Feng was terrified as he clasped his fists towards the cave dwelling. Not daring to stay any longer, he flew downwards in a flash. How could he still dare to provoke Ning Fan? Ning Fan had spared his life twice. If he still doesn't know when to stop for the third time, he will certainly die. All the void glimpse stage cultivators held their breaths in an instant. Even the powerful Can Feng had been scared off, so who would dare to stay here and try their luck? No one dared to stay here any longer, and they didn't say a word before heading to the next level. Since Ning Fan had taken away this level of the abode, they certainly would not be able to get it back. Thus, they could only go to the next level to try their luck. Ning Fan ignored Can Feng and the others. He was already a void fragmentation realm expert. There was no need for him to lower himself to the same level as these juniors. Yao Ming stood guard outside the dwelling respectfully while Ning Fan began to search inside the dwelling. The stone walls on both sides of the road were embedded with moonstones for illumination. At the end of the dwelling was a green stone wall that was as smooth and clean as a mirror. The stone wall was covered with moss. Ning Fan flicked his sleeves and swept it away, revealing the words of the demon race below. Ning Fan scanned through the words. These words of the demon race were written by an ancestor of the Yuan Qi clan. It briefly recorded his life. At the end of the words, there was a groove that was just big enough to fit the ancient golden jade that Tan Tianyan gave him. Ning Fan took out the ancient jade and pressed it into the stone wall. Then, he reached out his palm and touched the cold demon words. Then, he closed his eyes. The scenery in front of him changed one after another. It was as if he had entered a dream and became another person. In this dream, his name was Tan Boyan. He was born in the ancient demon world. His innate talent was extraordinary. When he was young, he attained the vein opening realm, harmonious spirit realm, core formation realm, nascent soul realm, divine transformation realm, void refinement realm and void fragmentation realm. His life was very boring. Other than cultivation, there was nothing else he could do. Before he died, Tan Boyan's cultivation base was at the 5th heavenly layer of the void fragmentation realm. After cultivating to this level, he only had one understanding about life and death. Fish are born in water and die in water. Grass and trees are born in soil and die in soil. Humans are born in the Tao and die in the Tao. Living for the Tao and dying for the Tao. This was the life of this old ancestor. The dream was very long and it included Tan Boyan's entire life. However, to Ning Fan, it only lasted for 10 breaths. Ning Fan opened his eyes and took out the ancient golden jade from the groove. Then, he kept it in his sleeve for the time being. His eyes were a little blank. Humans are born in the Tao and die in the Tao. They are born for the Tao and die for the Tao. After a while, Ning Fan's eyes regained their clarity. With a flash, he left the dwelling and flew towards the 499th floor. In every floor of the heavenly dwelling, there was a teleportation formation that led to the upper and lower floors. In just a few moments, Ning Fan passed through the teleportation formation and arrived at the 499th floor. He spread his spirit sense and immediately flew towards a certain direction. The dwelling of the 499th floor was built at the bottom of a lake. Currently, there were two groups of cultivators fighting on the lake for the dwelling. Both groups were mainly made up of void glimpse stage cultivators. Each of them had a void inquiry stage cultivator as their leader. One of the groups of cultivators was Kenfeng and the others who came down from the 500th floor. The other group of cultivators had a total of 15 void glimpse stage cultivators. The void inquiry stage cultivator was also slightly stronger than Kenfeng. His surname was Zhu and he was a burly man. As for the reason, it was naturally because Kenfeng had lost his natal magic treasure. Kenfeng, you are not a match for me. Quickly retreat and this dwelling will belong to me. The burly man with the surname Zhu sneered. Bullshit. If it wasn't because my fire spirit sword was taken away by someone else, I wouldn't be a match for you. Zhu Jun, if you know what's good for you, hurry up and give up the dwelling. Otherwise. Just as Kenfeng was about to say something ruthless, he suddenly shuddered and saw an extremely familiar ray of traveling light approaching him. That traveling light dispersed and a white-robed young man walked out of it. It was Ning Fan. It's Bai Mu. Everyone's expression changed. The expressions of the burly man with the surname Zhu and the other cultivators changed because of contempt. The expression of Kenfeng and the others changed because of fear. Just now, he had witnessed Ning Fan's powerful means and he took the initiative to give up the dwelling. What he could not understand was why Ning Fan came to the 499th floor to mess with them when he had already occupied the 500th floor. Fellow Taoist Bai, why did you come here? Kenfeng asked cautiously. I want to enter this dwelling to have a look around. I don't want anyone to disturb me. Those who have no business here, retreat. Ning Fan repeated what he said on the previous floor. This time, he did not release any baleful qi when he said those words. Therefore, the burly man with the surname Zhu and the others did not even have the slightest bit of fear in their hearts. All of them burst into laughter. Isn't this Bai Mu who has been hunted by half-step void refinement realm cultivators for a year? He actually asked us to retreat. What a joke. Ha! Even though he has a void inquiry stage cultivation base, I'm afraid any of us void glimpse stage experts are enough to defeat him, right? Saying that we are unrelated people. In my opinion, Bai Mu is the most unrelated person here. Weaklings don't have the right to occupy a dwelling. The burly man with the surname Zhu and the others were laughing. However, Kenfeng and the others could not laugh at all. Before their laughter subsided, Ning Fan had already waved his sleeve. He did not attack them with a killing blow. Instead, he just casually waved his sleeve. It was a gentle wave of wind but it seemed to contain a tremendous force. With just a single blow, the burly man with the surname Zhu and the others felt a sharp pain in their chests and were sent flying away by Ning Fan. How is this possible? The burly man with the surname Zhu and the 17 void glimpse stage experts got up from the ground. The way they looked at Ning Fan was as if they were looking at a ghost. As for Kenfeng and the others, they secretly mocked the burly man with the surname Zhu and the others. They no longer fought for the dwelling on the 499th floor. Instead, they turned around and flew towards the 498th floor. Why didn't they return to the 500th floor? They did not know why Ning Fan still wanted to occupy the 499th floor even though he had already occupied the 500th floor. Without Ning Fan's permission, they did not dare to simply seize the dwelling that Ning Fan had occupied before. Thus, they could only continue to go to the lower floors to fight for opportunities. Ning Fan's gaze swept across the burly man and the others. His eyes narrowed slightly. Why are you still here? As soon as the burly man and the others heard Ning Fan's words, cold sweat broke out on their foreheads. Without saying a word, they chased after Kenfeng and the others and flew towards the 498th floor. Even a fool could see that Ning Fan's strength far surpassed everyone on the scene. Who would dare to fight against him for the dwelling? After all, there were 500 dwellings. If they can't get this one, they would just take the next one. Ning Fan raised his hand to break the restriction. A single gaze from him scared the puppets away. He then walked to the end of the dwelling and took out an ancient golden jade from his sleeve, embedding it into the wall. Ning Fan pressed his palm on the cold stone wall and closed his eyes. The scenery in front of him changed. It was the memory of another old ancestor Yueni. This person's name was Tan Ziyu. His cultivation base had stopped at the 6th heavenly layer of the void fragmentation realm. This person's innate talent was poor. When he was young, he was abandoned by his clan and ended up in a mortal country. After that, he was adopted by a powerful aristocratic family in that country. This person had never cultivated before the age of 30. He dedicated his entire life to that aristocratic family and led an army to battle like a mortal. Even though his innate talent was poor, he was still a member of the Yueni clan after all. His physical body was far stronger than a mortal's and his strength was astonishing. However, it was difficult to change the situation. His country was defeated and he was trapped at the riverside. Even so, he would rather die than cross the river and commit suicide. Coincidentally, an old man from the Yueni clan happened to pass by. He took pity on him and kept his soul back to his clan. Then, he reconstructed his physical body and taught him his demon cultivation method. From the old man's point of view, even though Tan Ziyu's innate talent was poor, he had a spirit that ordinary people could not compare to. Thus, he might not necessarily be destined for the great Tao. Tan Ziyu had cultivated to the 6th shattering realm with his poor innate talent. Before he passed away, he only had one sentence to say about life and death. I'm a hero in life and a hero in death. Tens of breaths later, Ning Fan withdrew his palm and kept the ancient golden jade. His eyes were filled with contemplation. Tan Ziyu's understanding of life and death was obviously different from Tan Boyan's. Tan Boyan was a typical ascetic cultivator. He was born to cultivate the Tao and he would cultivate the Tao even in death. However, Tan Ziyu was different. He had his own persistence. Even though his innate talent was poor, his achievements were higher than Tan Boyan's. To Tan Boyan, there was no difference between life and death. He obtained it from the Tao and returned it to the Tao. He had no sorrow or joy. To Tan Ziyu, there was no difference between life and death. When he was alive, he was renowned throughout the world. When he died, he would become a hero among ghosts. Everyone's understanding of life and death is different. If I can observe the Tao of life and death of the 500 Yueni old ancestors, it will be very beneficial to me. Ning Fan inspected his body and realized that the life and death qi in his body had increased slightly after he finished observing the 2 stone walls. It was a process of integrating the life and death of others into his own body. Ning Fan did not say much. In a flash, he passed through the teleportation formation and entered the 498th floor. He spread his spirit sense and chose the right direction. Then, he immediately flew towards the abode on this floor. This abode was built on the crater of a volcano. Outside the crater of the volcano, there were 3 groups of cultivators engaged in a chaotic battle. 2 of them were the Void Glimpse stage teams led by Can Feng and the burly man surnamed Zhu respectively. The other group of cultivators only had 2 people. They seemed to be a pair of twin brothers. Both of them had Void Inquiry stage cultivation bases. Give it up. This abode belongs to me. Can Feng laughed loudly. Humph. This abode should belong to me. The burly man surnamed Zhu sneered. Wrong, wrong, wrong. This abode should belong to us, old men Feng and old men Lei. The pair of old men laughed sinisterly. While the 3 groups of cultivators were engaged in a chaotic battle, a white-robed young man suddenly appeared in the middle of the battle. I want to enter this abode to have a look. I don't want anyone to disturb me. Those who have no business here, back off. As soon as they heard what he said, old men Feng and Lei burst into laughter. What an arrogant kid. Why should I back off just because you say so? Bai Mu. He is Bai Mu, the disgrace of the Light Feather clan. I didn't expect him to be so arrogant even though he is weak. Before the two of them could finish laughing, they were already injured internally by Ning Fan with a wave of his sleeve. Then, they fell heavily to the ground like kites with broken strings. Crawling up from the ground, Old Man Feng and Lei's faces were filled with shock. This person either has an unrivaled cultivation base among the Void Inquiry stage experts, or he is a Void Pierce stage expert who has concealed his cultivation base. The two of us are definitely no match for him. Let's go. Old Men Feng and Lei did not say anything else and ran towards the 497th floor. As for Can Feng, the burly man surnamed Zhu and the others, they were complaining incessantly in their hearts. This Bai Mu is too much. He has already occupied 2 floors of the abode. Why does he still want to snatch our abode? He's going too far. So what if he's going too far? His strength is obvious. We are not his match at all. Forget it. Let's just give this abode to him. Shameless. How shameless. This Bai Mu is obviously so strong. Why didn't he go to the lower floors to snatch the abode? Instead, he is making things difficult for us. Forget it. Let's go to the 497th floor. I hope Bai Mu doesn't come here again. If he comes to the 497th floor to snatch the abode again, I will. I will go to the 496th floor. Chi rays of traveling light whistled across the sky and headed towards the 497th floor. Ning Fan did not pay attention to them. His eyes flashed and he dived into the lava, entering the volcanic cave. This cave dwelling gave him an unusual feeling. The cultivation base of the owner of this cave was not high. He was just at the 4th heavenly layer of the void fragmentation realm. However, his comprehension of the Tao of life and death was much deeper than that of the previous 2 cave dwellings. It was enough to move people's hearts. It was because this person's comprehension of the Tao of life and death was filled with emotions. This person did not die for the Tao, nor did he die for his reputation. Instead, he passed away in meditation in this cave just to save a woman. If it weren't for you, life and death would be meaningless. If I can save you from samsara, why would I regret death? Why would I be afraid of death? We are born in different worlds, but we die in the same cave.